All right. Now we're live. Or we should be.
Yo.
Well, do you hear this music? This
Dude, yeah, they're like, dun, dun, dun. Some
yeah,
weird little
so
piano
dumb.
stuff.
It comes with a StreamYard. So yeah. How's everybody going? We've I don't know how much money we've raised only from this stream so far. I'm sure I'll find out at some point. But anyway, just so everybody knows, the money is going to provide food for Ukrainian refugees. And it's not that this is like the sole fundraiser. Pretty much everything I do in the next couple weeks is, just going to be attached to some sort of fundraiser, because why not? How are you, Bill?
I'm doing all right, man. Yeah, the shit in Russia and the Ukraine is no fun.
Yeah, it's dark.
Yeah.
Dark.
I
Speaking
noticed.
of dark, yeah.
Yeah,
Speaking of darkness, I promised I would start this podcast off and with
right.
So if anybody's noticed, like on Twitter, YouTube, there's been a lot of comments saying that like I've been involved in some sort of massive settlement from a financial institution or something like that, and it's not true. Basically, what has to just, I guess, be super frank, for many years, I've been involved in a lawsuit with the Archdiocese of Chicago. I was a Catholic student / altar boy. You could pretty much fill out the rest of that story in your head. And a lot of the lawsuit was for specific performance. However, the legal fees were astronomical. They were well into the six figures. And so in January, I reached a settlement for some of the legal fees. None of that money even went into my bank account. It's gone straight to things where it's owed in relations to that case. And so what has happened is a certain journalist, who I'm not going to name, found the public record of this settlement. What has happened? And then I hear the delay now. Yeah, has found the record of the settlement, and then somebody has somehow found it, wanted me to pay them money to not release it. And I said, well, go ahead and release it. I don't really care. It would have been helpful for me to be public about it for the actual case itself years ago, but for now it doesn't really matter. And so what they've done is they've created this like type of thing where they've like blacked out certain things on certain documents. They don't actually have the original lawsuit or anything like that, and have like turned it into this thing where I've been like making money off of cryptocurrency and scamming people and stuff like that, in hopes that a news site like, Music Radar or whoever, some like notable Twitter person, would out me on it. And then, and then I'd obviously tell them what's really happening, and it would be a big embarrassing thing. But basically this has just been held over my head for like the last month, demanding that I pay them. The money, the amount has changed. It's been negotiable, but it started as $50,000 in Bitcoin, of all things. And I was just like, go fuck yourself. So that's what those comments are about. And they'll probably stop now because there's really nothing to hide. And if any journalist wants to see any sort of specific documents in private, I'm more than happy to show them to you. Good times. So internet's a fun place.
Wait, so to recap,
Yeah.
You had a lawsuit with basically a religious outfit.
Yeah. That's gone on for years and years.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were like the person suing them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I wasn't suing them for just like a flat amount of money. I was demanding specific performance for them to like set up a third party sort of oversight committee that would not be part of the church, that would check in on priests and on clergy and things like that. And basically, sort of raise the bar for what you have to do to be around children, essentially. Right. But that's cost a lot of money, and they've, obviously fought back tooth and nail.
Right. And then you had another company who was like, oh, that's pretty admirable. We're going to give you some money to help you with the legal fees.
No, I have attorneys, but they've required money. And then the Archdiocese had to, at the end of the settlement, they've paid for all of my legal fees. Like, because
Archdiocese being like the church.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. The Archdiocese is the Catholic Church, essentially. So, okay. So they've paid my legal fees, but what that person saw, I guess if you like don't know the details of it, probably looks like I got a big lump of money, but really I just got a bunch of legal fees paid. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, because someone on Twitter was basically like,
Yeah.
what is Ben doing with Orica.io? He got given $275,000 by a legal group that represents financial services, banks, and investment groups. And I have some of these documents, and we can't
Yeah.
think that this is normal at all. And
No, it's
I
not
guess
normal.
it is
But
not.
yeah, but at the same time, it's like, I've been telling this person, I've been like, well, share the documents, make them public. Like, go
Right.
ahead. Because, like, they say the Archdiocese of Chicago, the legal group that he's referring to is a church's defense attorney company or defense law term that also, defends some banks and stuff, but they also defend the Catholic Church. And so it's like, this isn't hard to find out. And I'm not sure how they got these documents to begin with, but it's not one of those things that I just wanted to be like, hey, everybody, guess what I got done doing this week, So that's why it was a secret. But it has nothing to do with crypto or Orica or anything like that. It's completely on the opposite spectrum of my life. So yeah, but now everybody knows that this big, conspiracy, and maybe they'll just tell this person to fuck themselves the next time they respond to a YouTube video or a tweet or something. So yeah, how are you? What are you up to now that we got that out of the way?
All right. Yeah, I'm not too bad. Fuck, my sleep has been the worst lately. Basically, I've been sleeping. I went to sleep today at like 2 p.m. and then just woke up for this, and then I'll probably go back to sleep after this. Yeah, I just been sleeping weird hours, basically being awake all night and working all early morning and such.
Are you playing a lot of gigs?
No, not at all. I haven't played any. I've played 0 gigs this year. I've been taking some time off to like just
Really?
adjust. Yeah, because I was kind of like going through some bullshit, like
Yeah.
mental
Oh
health
yeah,
stuff.
this year, man, my life had. I feel like I saw you this year at a gig, but that was clearly last year.
Yeah, that was
That
like,
was a while ago. Okay.
yeah, that was infrasound, right? So that was,
Yeah.
I guess September or something, or
Yeah.
yeah. Speaking of which, when we were there, I was telling you about like some physical anxiety issues I was having. You told me to try beta blockers.
Yeah.
And I've since tried propanolol,
Uh huh. Yeah.
but it doesn't really fix my physical anxiety, actually.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And by physical anxiety, you mean just like your heart beating faster and.
No, it's like I get like the tightness in the chest and like the ball in the throat and stuff like that.
So
Yeah.
I think what I meant by physical anxiety more is like shaky hands and stuff like that. Do you get that?
I
I
do,
mean,
yeah, but I think I get that from like a kind of destroyed nervous system. So I take niacin for that.
okay.
And
Is that helping?
I think it is actually, yeah. I think my hands have been pretty good lately.
Yeah.
But yeah, just dealing with a bunch of that kind of bullshit. And that's, yeah, partially why I've taken the first bit of the year off, is just to try and figure out all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a lifetime. It's like always a lifetime adjustment to try and
Right.
be on top of those things.
Mm.
Yeah. And then there's always like, how do you measure mental health anyway? Like, how do you, what is good? What is bad? Like
Right.
I
It's not
always,
like you can just A/B against your sober 11-year-old self or whatever.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And I've, a doctor broke that down really good for a psychiatrist I had once broke that down really good for me. And they're like, well, you're working and you're working, you're dating somebody, you're riding your bike around, you're doing this good, but well, that's what it is. Like, you might not be totally happy while doing it. And that's what normal life is. So, if somebody were happy 24 hours a day, they'd be a lunatic. So,
Right.
yeah.
Someone's asking if I have anything to do with SAE in Australia. I don't, but I went to SAE in Sydney to do my bachelor degree. So I guess sort of.
Is that
But
where you recorded Undiscovered Colors?
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That was a long ass time ago though. That was like 2010, maybe even earlier, maybe like 2009.
Yeah.
So if they saw me there, it would have been a long time ago.
When was the last time you've been back there to Australia? Not to SAE.
Not, yeah, not for a long time. So basically, there was like no COVID there, right? For the longest time,
Yeah.
there was, I think, until pretty much around infrasound when we saw each other, there was no such thing as COVID there. There was no lockdown, no masks, nothing. But there was also like it was pretty difficult to get in. Like every
Hmm.
time you would go into the country, you would have to, I think, go get a hotel on your own dime, and then they would
Quarantine.
rent. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
Quarantine for I think like 7 to 14 days or something, and they would randomly text you at just any time. Like could be 2 a.m., could be whatever 11 a.m. Um, and you would have to send them a selfie of yourself in the hotel to like prove that you were there, which is just super dumb because you could just like fucking
Yeah.
upload a thing or like take a photo of yourself in the hotel and then go grab lunch or whatever. And if they
Yeah.
text you, just send them the photo. There's
Yeah. I wonder if
probably
they're like hold up 3 fingers in the photo, so you
right,
like
right,
yeah,
right.
or
It's
some
like one
weird
of
like
those.
yeah.
Yeah, so there was that, and then I guess they got hit with COVID pretty soon after that, um, around around like September last year, I think. And then the country went to shit. It became like so difficult to travel there, and there was like I think something like people could only leave their houses to go do exercise and get groceries for like 2 hours a day. But I don't even know how they are enforcing that.
Yeah.
Bunch of
I've seen
weird
some
stuff.
videos of like people who were told to stay in quarantine and then somehow the cops actually had a list of that and like people being like pulled over and written some insane ticket for going to
Hmm.
McDonald's when they, were
Wow.
supposed to be quarantining or something like that. I remember seeing some, but I know Canada was also kind of on the like more extreme side of enforcement.
Mm.
Um, Oh yeah, somebody in the chat is literally yeah talking about Canada. If
Yeah.
how's what's your thoughts on the whole thing now that we're kind of I don't want to say we're on the other side of this thing, but like yeah I feel like the times we've had podcast chats or stream chats has sort of been always like sort of check-ins with like what's
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
on with like
Totally.
it's been an interesting time has passed fast, but yeah I feel like the last time we did this I said something, or we were both saying that we would probably fight against a Trump government if it
Mm.
came down to it. Which,
Right. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, well, now I live in a area where the vibes to do that are like much more, uh,
yeah.
heavy. Like I live in Virginia now, which is, I
Oh,
live
you
like,
do? Okay,
yeah, I moved to Charlottesville, Virginia. I live like right near Monticello,
okay,
um, like Thomas Jefferson's spot.
yeah,
So it's like yeah, definitely some uprise against the government vibes here, kind of.
sure.
Definitely some patriot vibes.
How do you
Um,
like it?
it's cool, man. I actually really like it. Yeah, the
Yeah,
East Coast is a good vibe. It's like very different to the West Coast, but yeah, it's
yeah,
cool. My opinion on COVID is, or like COVID right now. Well, my opinion on the Australian side of it is that Australia is just a massive police state, and I think it always kind of has been. Like even when I was living there, when I was so they when when you first get your license in Australia, there's like a plating system. The
mm,
first plate you get is an L plate, which stands for learner, and you have to have that on your car for like a year. And then you get a red P plate, and that has to be on your car for a year. And then you get a green P plate, and that has to be on your car for 2 years. And then you can take the plates off, and then you have what's called like your black license. And
so it's like jujitsu kind of.
yeah, yeah, you get like
Yeah,
driving belts.
yeah, yeah. Get your plate stripes when you
Yeah, yeah,
tap someone out.
totally. And every time I would like when had my red P plates, for instance, I would literally get pulled over like twice a day sometimes by
Yeah,
cops. It's crazy. And the entire time I've been in America, I think I've been pulled over like once.
yeah,
Um, so there's that, and then yeah, I mean, just how they've dealt with the COVID stuff is crazy, and then how they just deal with like people who have like a slight criminal record over there is insane. Like for instance, my brother has an FPO against him, which is a firearms protection order,
hmm,
which means essentially he got found with a firearm on him like once,
Yeah.
And now for the rest of his life, the cops basically have the right to search him and the premises that he's on whenever they want. So
Yeah.
like he could be in like a any like he could be, you know, let's say you had a house in Australia, he could just be at your house and they could just come in, search him completely and search the entire house completely.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's fucking
That's
crazy.
and it's kind of crazy how those things seem normal until you go to a different country for long enough, and then you're like, oh yeah, these are totally crazy. I'm sure we have a bunch too. I'm sure like if I moved to Italy or something,
Dude,
I'd be
someone's
like,
like, no offense, but getting found with an illegal gun is a big deal. I mean, sure, yeah, that's
yeah,
true. But like at the same time, it's like, you know, people get found with illegal guns here all the time. They don't get stripped of their rights like that.
yeah. I mean, I had a 9mm with the serial number scraped off when I was like 20. You know, like it's just because I lived in Chicago where you couldn't have a gun,
Right.
where you couldn't legally have one, but everybody had one anyway. And it was just like, had I gotten caught, I probably would have gotten probation or something like that. Like, probably
Mm,
would have not been. But yeah, you know, we're known for our guns. We're
right.
known for our
Yeah,
love
I
of
should
firearms.
probably say that I don't think that like, yeah, I'm pretty anti-gun, uh, but I'm also pretty pro-rights. I'm pretty
Yeah,
pro not being able to just get you and your whatever premises you're on searched at any given time because the cops feel like it.
yeah, and that's it's interesting because I feel like one thing that I run into a lot is a lot like, you know, here and there I've been, you know, people are like, what political party would you describe yourself as? And I've been like, probably libertarian. But
Mhm.
then people are like, oh wow, so you're like super right wing, and it's like, absolutely not, like not even close. Like I think people, I believe in socialized medicine, like yet like, you know, I think that like people get libertarian confused with like, you know, the guys who are super right wing but don't like the word Republican, you know, because it's lame, and so they, you know, say no, I'm a libertarian, man, like, and then support somebody like, you know, Trump or, you know, sometimes somebody who's like more authoritative. But you know,
Right.
but
What do
yeah,
you?
like, say what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, the like I'm not super familiar with libertarian views, but I know one of them is that they think you should just pay for the amount of road that you use, like with tolling systems.
Yeah, there's like, so it's weird because this kind of like flows across the spectrum, right? Because if you were to say that SUVs should be taxed more because they damage the roads more and because they mess up the environment more, or trucks, or, you know, anything like that, pickup trucks should pay more in taxes than small Priuses, right? That's a pretty
Mm.
liberal idea. Like that's like a that's a Bernie Sanders idea. Yet
Right,
it's actually a pretty libertarian idea too, in
right.
that sense.
Someone says you don't know what a libertarian is. It's for liberty.
Yeah, good one.
Nice, dude.
You could just pull words apart and
Yeah.
pick different words out of them and all sorts. Also,
See,
like,
I think it's more for the Tarian.
yeah, 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 like a terrier, you know, like more
Yeah.
of a dog type. Um, yeah, I'm into libraries and terriers essentially. That's my big platform.
Yeah.
No, but if you look up like,
Authoritarian, also the Tarian.
for anybody who's like, you know, on a trip about this, search egalitarian libertarian, which is kind of where I'm at probably. Is like everybody deserves freedom. A really good, like, interesting, I don't know if it's so much of a thought experiment, but a good example of what a libertarian principle would be is if a homeless person asked you for money, and if you said, no, I'm going to buy you food, I'm against that. Like, I think a person's liberty is above all. If he wants to spend that money on, you know, drugs or something nefarious, it's not for me to say you cannot. I have
Mm.
the option of giving him money or not. But buying him a piece of pizza, you know, is now forcing him to do what I want him to do,
Right.
which, you know, and so,
That's fair. Yeah. I
yeah.
think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. So have you played a show in Russia before?
No, I have not. I've not
Yeah.
even been like offered a show in Russia or anything like that. Though I've had a couple of friends who have,
Yeah.
and yeah, from what it sounds like a pretty crazy time.
Yeah.
One of my friends who played a show there, he said he basically landed after like 24 hours of flying or whatever from Australia. Oh yeah, someone said the starting
Yeah,
shortly thing. I
I
noticed
just
that was
noticed
there a
that.
while ago.
There's also a
Uh,
20% off medicine code here. We got a bathroom break. Got
oh,
a,
tight.
yeah.
Yeah, so my friend flew there. It took him like whatever it takes from Australia, 24 hours, 36 hours, something like that. And as soon as he got there, the promoters picked him up and they just started driving around the countryside, knocking on people's doors. And they're all like, I think they would just instantly, as soon as he got off the plane, they all just got like hammered. They were just
Yeah.
sort of drinking vodka and stuff. And yeah, they were just knocking on people's doors, and then people would answer the door, and they would just yell at them in Russian, and and they would either just like shut the door and be like no, or whatever. But then they got to one house, um, and they like yelled a bunch of stuff at these people in Russian. And it was like an old lady and an old man who like looked at each other and then both walked away from the door. And then like the old man came back to the door with like a bottle of vodka, and then the old lady came back with like a pickle on a stick. And
I was waiting to hear like AK-47, but we got that instead. Yeah.
yeah, and apparently it's like pretty normal in Russia to, if you have, I think, like someone who's from out of town or you're out of town yourself or something like that, it's like reasonable to just knock on their door at any hour and be like, hey, give me like a pickle and vodka, and
Like
they like have to
trick-or-treating.
do it. It's like exactly, it's
Yeah.
like something that is just fine to do. I don't know.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's I ages ago I played a show in Latvia and was like, in the ex-Soviet region. And yeah, and I remember the culture was a little confusing. Like the red meat and vodka stuff was just a little out of hand. Um, I don't know. It was odd, but I've always been really fascinated by Russia. But also a little weary. Like for some reason I have a lot of fans in Russia, and I've been offered gigs, but they always just seemed. Have you ever been offered a gig where like the money was too much and it seemed dodgy? Where you're just like,
I have, but the time that happened, I actually got paid and the gig went fine. So I was like,
yeah,
it's kind of weird. I my theory was that they were like washing weed money or something.
yeah. And this was, and so it was just like a club in Moscow or St. Petersburg, and I always just remember being like, I feel like my gear's not going to come back with me or something. Or some sort of like weird, not even to be like xenophobic or anything, but it was just like, I feel like I would have rather gone to Russia just with a backpack and not really having to worry about having to pay bribes, or at least, having all this gear and stuff like that. But then again, I perform with so much crap that it's not like a laptop and a MIDI controller or something. It's literally like a whole convoy of things.
Mm.
Speaking of, did you hear about that convoy of Russian military vehicles that got bombed in Ukraine yesterday? Yeah, it's yesterday.
I've not looked into it in the past like 24 hours. Like I said, my sleep has been all over the place. So I've
Yeah.
been. Oh, Chandler's here too. Sick. What's up, Chandler?
Oh, nice.
Was my friend nicknamed the Machine? Yeah, that's a good Bert Kreischer story.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? No, I didn't hear about it, but I mean, I've obviously heard about like all the convoys they've been sending into the Ukraine.
Yeah, I think like it's interesting how bad Russia is at conventional warfare and how good they were at like psyops, or how good they are at psyops, at psychological warfare, and how bad they are at conventional warfare.
Right.
Have you heard of, oh, what was it called? The Road of Death or something. It was like this Highway 80 in Kuwait. Are you familiar with that? Have you ever heard about this?
No.
So it's this so basically there was this road that was in Kuwait, and in the first Gulf War, they had a bunch of their tanks and military convoy coming. I mean, tons, like thousands and thousands of vehicles going down this road, and NATO just like airdropped, bombed the first car, or the first couple vehicles, and then the last couple vehicles, and just trapped them on this 6-lane expressway, and then for the next like overnight, they just bombed the living shit out of them, and
Jeez.
And it's like crazy. If you look at pictures of this, it's like looking out at thousands of charred vehicles. And it's kind of like, that's like what, if you were to go to like war class to like be a war strategist or something, like I feel like that would be the first thing you'd learn. It would
Right.
be like, don't do very long convoys where there's the potential of like airstrikes or explosives. But yeah, something like 2,000 cars were, and I mean, there was obviously a lot of fatalities too. Like it's really grim. But
Man, some of the stuff people do in war is like actually kind of like ingenious.
oh yeah,
Like for instance, there was it where was it? I think it was the Iraq War or Afghanistan or something, where the U.S. military and the U.K. military and whatnot, they just couldn't walk around because there was just bombs in the ground like everywhere, like mines. So they'd create these things called micklicks, where essentially like a bunch of people would like all get their socks and they would tie all their socks together, and in each sock they would have a grenade. Um, and then they would like basically make a long string of these grenade sock lines that were all tied together, that were like, I don't know, 50 meters, 100 meters long. And then they would, put one grenade in one of them that was had the pin pulled, and then they would throw it. So it was like just a big line of grenades, right? And it would just land on the ground, and it would just the whole thing would explode in a line.
oh,
And then that would just give them like a nice clear line that they could walk through, because it would destroy obviously all the mines in that process.
oh yeah. Except
Pretty
now you
clever.
don't have socks.
Now you don't
But
have socks, but
yeah,
it's better to have no socks than no
yeah,
legs.
yeah, yeah. True. Yeah, or maybe they brought extra socks or something. It's possible.
Yeah, I imagine they probably had extras.
Some
You
fishing
must,
line.
like, you don't go to war with one pair of socks.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a rookie mistake.
Um, are you familiar with like the Russian the Russian psyops stuff that much? Like have you ever heard of a guy? I'm trying to think where a good place to read about this would be, but I mean it's on Wikipedia too. It's like pretty, but Vladislav Surkov. Are you familiar with that name? Have you ever heard this
No.
character? So
Is
it's this
this
guy.
like cyber warfare stuff, or?
No, so it's this guy who grew up in like he was a Russian and he grew up in the Soviet era, and he's actually a Chechen. And so he was at first, kind of at odds with Moscow, but he ended up getting into this super prestigious theater program in Moscow for his college, and studied theater direction and theater writing and screenplay stuff and all this stuff. And then after the Soviet Union fell, he got into politics and business, because business was now allowed, and so he got into these two things. And his like obsession with theater, he kind of wrote that into politics, and he worked his way up to Kremlin, to where he ended up being very close to Vladimir Putin, and has a lot to do with how Vladimir Putin got in power. And the whole thing is just so amazing to me, because he kind of was like, no, we can make our own reality. And so what he did was took state money and Kremlin money and financed groups that, like, super far right groups like neo-Nazis and white supremacy groups, super far left groups, separatist groups like from Dagestan and Chechnya and stuff like that, and then even groups that were like actively trying to overthrow Putin's regime. And he financed all these different groups, or like, just gave tons of money and kept giving money to all these groups. And then he did something absolutely brilliant, where he just acknowledged that he did that publicly to everybody and said, yes, we are giving all of these groups money. And so what does that mean? Like, that now, how do you have, like, how can you even define what it is that you're angry about once that happens? Like, because everything is just a theater now. Like, you just think his money was behind every single event that took place in our like political theater. And so you ask yourself, like, okay, did Putin have a potential opponent killed, or was that death faked to make Putin look bad, or did the far left assassinate that person to make Putin look bad, or did Putin assassinate that person to make the far left look like, and you keep going down this rabbit hole to where nothing even matters anymore. And like, you can't put a stop to something you can't even begin to define. And that's kind of what happened, in Russia. And that's like in 2012, I think like 10 years ago, the ruble was like 3 cents or something like that to the US dollar, and now it's like 0.75. And so it's not like a brand new thing where like the currency has been, sliding to default. It's been going on for a while, but like it's such a theater there that people can't really make sense of it. And so when you say like Ukraine is run by neo-Nazis and we're liberating them, people are just like, okay. Or, a lot of people are just like, oh yeah.
Right. So by psyops, you mean it's like psychedelic warfare in the sense that they're basically like good at playing mind games with
Yeah.
people and good at like, manipulating people's opinions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of like social engineering or something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's what this Surkov guy was so good at. And I mean, he kind of like invented that. And then that weirdly, it's like you could say, oh, okay, that's a Russian thing. But then Donald Trump wins the Republican primaries.
Right.
And he was like giving money to Hillary's campaign and Bernie Sanders' campaign when he was doing that, and like admitting to doing it and saying, oh, I give money to everybody. Like it's literally like straight from that script. And then he wins the presidency. And then after that, now we have this like sizable minority in the United States who literally would want an illegal presidency to exist, even though they can look at the election numbers and they think everything, they don't know what to believe. And so their echo chamber is what is ruling them. And so it's like this, I feel like there's probably an end to it. I hope, like, I feel like this isn't like the way that everything, I feel like this is probably a phase in politics and geopolitics, but like, it's really fascinating to see it like come to life. It's horrifying too, but it's like, maybe this is the end of it. Maybe that's the good news. It's like, this is kind of, maybe this will be like the liberation from it, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think so, but I mean, I guess that's probably what people think maybe with every war, right? They're like, oh, this is the last one.
Yeah.
No, I think the only way like the wars will stop is when humans get over their fucking greed and their egos and shit, which is like obviously never going to happen.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah,
Question.
I mean,
oh, sorry,
yeah.
go on.
Go ahead.
I was gonna it's kind of like a different thing completely, but I was curious if you've ever heard of the NSO and the thing that they made called Pegasus.
Pegasus. Oh yeah, I'm thinking of a mutual fund. Sorry, no. What is? Well, I'm gonna try and. Oh, the spyware thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is that program that
Basically, it's like a link that gets texted to your iPhone, and if you click it, they basically have like full control over your iPhone, I believe, something like that. It's like a 0-day bug, I want to say.
Oh wow, yeah, this is brand new.
Oh,
not brand new, but
not brand new.
I'm like,
it's like
I'm looking at like newer news. Okay, I was thinking of like something else. Yeah, how did I not hear about this?
Yeah, it's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm always interested in like this kind of like cyber warfare stuff as well, and seems like Israel is just on top of it with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they have so much wrong and so much right, don't they? Like, not to be like too divisive, but like, there's so much wrong and so much, like, the way they've handled COVID is like,
oh wait, somebody says Pegasus, you don't actually need to click on it. It's just a thing that I guess like what gets sent to your iPhone and then you just fucked.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. We are the cancer and the earth will purge itself of us eventually. I don't know. It's always a weird take. I remember the giant meteor. It was like before COVID, people would always say giant meteor. Like, remember those stickers and stuff? And I was like, man, I don't want a giant meteor. I think we could, I think there's somewhere between here and, and having to like breathe volcanic ash for the rest of our 10-day lifespan. Yeah.
A 10-day lifespan as in
after the meteor hits. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. I was thinking that you just thought we were on like a 10-day loop or something.
Oh God, yeah. That'd be a fun thing to talk about if I believe that.
Yeah, and then like at the end of every 10 days, we just get like reset, and we're just kind of like living the same shit over and over again, but like don't remember it, and our memories just get reset and purged.
It's funny because I feel like as many like wacky Hollywood scripts we could write out for things like that, or these like wacky ideas, like the reality is probably so much weirder. It's like probably so like that, like as crazy as that sounds, it's probably boring in comparison to like what. Well, I mean, I guess just when you think about our consciousness was something that we evolved to just make us survive and procreate, and so it's already yeah, I mean, it's evolved as a function to just get us to do to just get us to survive and procreate. So it's like already super flawed, and like we have no idea what is real or what's not. Maybe Russia had the right thing when they were changing around the. And I feel like this chat is just kind of all over the place. I'm like,
So I mean, that's what the thumbnail said it was going to be,
yeah, yeah, right, yeah. Are you still making bread? I remember putting that in there.
Yeah, I took a break and I just got back into it after moving here. I wasn't making in SF for like the last few months I was living there, and then recently got into it again. I just bought a little blast furnace too, so I've been making like some good pizza also.
Oh, nice.
Dude, this blast furnace is insane. Basically, it's like I don't know if you want to Google it. It's called an uni, like OONI. If you just type in OONI pizza oven.
Yeah, I see it. Okay.
Yeah, it's like this little canister thing made out of like some space age steel shit, and just has like this insane burner at the back, and you just feed it LPG. But it's crazy because like it gets so fucking hot in there, but the back gets like way hotter than the front because that's where all the heat is coming from. So I've noticed like I put it in, and like
I was just about to ask that, like, how's the heat distributed fairly through this thing?
Yeah, it's not. You just have to like turn the pizza, but I fucking cannot get the hang of it for the life of me. I keep burning the backs of the pizza because it's just like way too hot at the back. I read on Reddit what people do is just like crank the heat all the way and then just turn it off completely and then put the pizza in. But I tried that and that doesn't really work either. So yeah, I don't know what to do. I'm still trying to get the hang of it.
Some of the pictures are people like bringing it camping.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, is like you can take it wherever and just like have a little oven basically.
I just love that that's like the whitest thing you could do, isn't it? To be like, I'm gonna get a pizza maker, like this nice space age steel pizza maker, and then I'm gonna bring it camping,
right?
And make
and
pizza.
Then, like, have a charcuterie board and shit.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to bring like, you're obviously gonna have to like bring a bunch of like stuff that has to be cold. Like the whole thing is just such a shit idea, right? It's just like you're gonna have to bring ice, and you're gonna have to bring, or you're gonna have to have like some sort of like gas powered fridge or some bullshit. And,
yeah, no, I think if you're going camping, just suck it up and eat fucking blueberries for
exactly. Like, I mean, yeah, you got Soylent. Soylent's perfect for camping.
That's good. Or you can get those like vegan or vegetarian like plant-based sausages, and you can just eat them raw.
Yeah. I just did like some crazy adventure travel-ish type stuff to get some like field recordings in Apalachicola in Florida, which is like pretty off the grid. And I don't know if you saw that video, but it was like really terrifying. I got like lost in the ocean and shit.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
I did not see it. Wait.
On a pontoon boat.
Was this like the equivalent of like DJ Khaled on that jet ski on Snapchat? Did you ever see that?
No. No, I was trying to go to an island, but there was just like really bad the waves or the undertow essentially was not undertow. This is how little I know. I can't even remember the name. Riptide. There was like riptide warnings, but I didn't know how to read the flags. I had no idea what they meant. It's just like, what does red mean? I don't know. I guess that means go.
Like red means safe.
Yeah, right.
Red definitely doesn't mean stop.
Yeah.
Yo, can someone in the chat find that DJ Khaled video where he gets lost at sea on the jet ski? It's so good. He's like, obviously this like big time producer or whatever, and
yeah,
he's from Miami, I think, and he has a jet ski. Is this all like a Snapchat story that happened one day? And yeah, he like just starts riding around in the
Okay, I'm looking.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's like,
this guy. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like
Always have
slowly,
faith. Always have hope.
yeah, dude, slowly over the course of the evening or whatever, or the day, the story just like keeps getting darker and darker as the sun goes down, and he's just like has no idea where he is. So
Wow.
good.
Did it run out of fuel or something?
No, he just like I guess lost his bearings and like didn't know where he was.
It seems like he never. Well, it seems like he went out at night,
Well, I
which,
think he went out in the late afternoon, early evening, and then it just got dark.
yeah. Wow. It seems like he never really lost land, though, did it? Like, it just seems like he kind of didn't
Yeah.
really know what. Yeah, I got to the point where like everywhere around me was sea,
Oh fuck.
and I was like, this is so like I knew where I was on the map, I guess, but at the same time, I thought I would be able to see the island from where I was.
Right. So you didn't know like which way to go to like actually.
I had a GPS, but the GPS was also not able to predict sandbars. And so my boat
Mm,
kept getting stuck on these sandbars and then it would pull it down in. And I'm like, well, how much farther is this going to pull it down before water starts getting in, into the boat? And so I was kind of like, it was interesting because it was the first time I definitely cut a lot from the video. It was the first time that I didn't, where I was like panicking and couldn't take control of the situation for like
damn.
a bit, for like a little while. Like I had to actually like tell myself, I had to like kind of have a nice little like 2-minute episode where I was just like, calm down, calm down. The chances of you dying here are very low. This is just
Right.
very uncomfortable. Like, because I couldn't even find how to like lift the engine. I couldn't figure out, like, I lost my idea of how to use any of the equipment. And yeah, and so it was kind of like,
Had like a bit of an anxiety attack.
oh yeah, absolutely. I was like freaking out. And, and then I like, I gathered it and then I went up the Apalachicola River into the swamps and did that instead of reaching the island. But there was one
Yeah.
point where everywhere around me was fog. Like literally if my hand was like, this far away from me, my hand would start like going away.
Oh.
And that was pretty crazy too. I liked that though. I was like, I just turned the engine off and chilled because I was like, this is, the Matrix loading screen. So
Man, I've heard that sometimes that happens, well, actually, all the time, that happens in space when people get out of the ship and try and do work on the whatever satellite that they're working on or whatever they're working on. They'll have like basically 45 minutes where it's just pitch black, like they can put their hand right in front of their face and can't see it.
mhm.
And then 45 minutes later, the sun will like come from behind the earth and just burn the fuck out of them for like 45 minutes. And then again, pitch black for 45 minutes. And
Jeez.
yeah,
Yeah, not. I mean, the idea of like losing your bearings or just not being able to like. Well, I guess in space there is no up or down, right? And so it's kind of that's like hard to mentally cope with. It's like, yeah, there is no up or down. Like everywhere is whatever way you're facing is up, and you know,
right.
um, it was
I'm
kind of fun.
looking sorry,
Do
go
you
on.
do you remember when like yeah, like a year ago when Andrew Wang was doing his like little space story
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. And people like kept asking you like whether or not he was actually in space.
Yeah, and like I remember I think it was before when he first announced it, but like he didn't like I don't think he had like any footage from in his ship yet. And I was like, maybe there's one of these like companies that's sending people to like vacation space travel, and they've and I thought that, but I never said it publicly because I didn't want to be rude and it's none of my business. But like he had just had a kid right before that. And I
Right.
was like, that's a dick move. Like, have a kid and then go to
And then
space.
just
Like,
be like,
that's
"I'm
really
out."
risky. Like, his wife's probably like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, goddamn, I just had your kid and now you're, doing this risky, like, 50% death trip. Yeah, but fortunately for us, he's still with us here on Earth, and it was a well-made series.
Yeah, I talked to him about that on a podcast I did with him like 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was just like, I don't know, I just wanted to see like how far the YouTube platform could be taken, with like, better filmmaking and all that kind of shit, just to see like exactly what was possible with the platform. I'm looking at this video now, and yeah, it looks insane just being out on the ocean like that. So like, is this video number 2 of trying to escape noise pollution? Because I remember there was that other one where you went out in the middle of the, wait, there was 3, right? Because there was, you went out
This is the
into,
4th, yeah.
right, yeah, I remember the one where you did like, you went out to where all those crocodiles were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah, the
another
swamps.
one where you just like rode your e-bike out into the middle of a bush that had been burnt to shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then I don't remember what the other one was.
The other one was just a tunnel that's like an old train tunnel that's like on this old train line. The first season was like pretty much financed by e-bikes.
Oh wow, that's
and
awesome.
then the second season I didn't do any sponsors. I mean, I've only done 1 episode so far. I don't know if I'm going to do any more. I'm kind of like, because they don't do well. Like YouTube just won't pick them up in the algorithm because they're too different from everything else. And so like, good.
Who you should do videos with is that Russian guy who like goes to Burning Man and goes to Nambia and all that stuff and just does these reviews of the places.
Oh yeah.
His Burning Man review is so sick. Wait, what is it? What is his name? And totally something. Hold on, Burning Man review. What's his name? Anton somewhere. That guy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I think I'm familiar with him.
Yeah, I mean his shit. Like he did Black Rock City, the most unusual town on earth, and like that video got like 5.5 million views, and yeah, the Namibia one got like 2 million views.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just goes to these weird places and gives them like a pretty sick review with a bunch of good filming and stuff. They're pretty engaging. They're all in Russian, so they've all been translated or overdubbed into English.
I feel like I wonder if I wonder if like that series, I wonder if he is happy he did it, or if if he hoped that it would come, because I feel like I've tried to break free from the like pro audio review world for at this point years, where it's been like I've been like trying to like edge my way out, and every time I do, I kind of get like punished by the algorithm in some way or by a sponsor or something like that. And so yeah, I wonder how that fared for. I mean, I could just look at the numbers too, but I wonder how that fared for him. If it was like, because he obviously spent way more money in that than he did just for like playing with Ableton or some.
Yeah, man. I mean, the video we made the day. I went and stayed with him for like a week, and we made a video. It was just who can make the dumbest drop.
Yeah, I remember that was great.
Yeah, and it was like we just whipped out the camera, filmed like 30 minutes of us just being like, oh yeah, that's dumb. Like,
yeah,
and that was it. It's like a pretty low budget thing, but yeah, it did all right. Also, I think the ones that do best for him, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's the 4 producer 1 sample videos. People seem to really like those. People like, I guess, like competitions or something like that. People like to see some sort of like game show reality TV kind of shit.
There was before COVID, I was talking to some other creators and to some companies about kind of a like basically renting a mansion, and a bunch of YouTube creators are just like given a bunch of gear to just make music on for a week. And it kind of being like a reality-esque show, minus like, obviously a fight would not be good, or something like, you don't want to like.
You have to make it more zero sum than that, though. I think.
Right? Yeah. Like
I think that not that the 4 producer 1 sample thing are zero sum, but like people think it is. Yeah. In their mind, they're like, who's gonna win, sort of thing. That's like.
Yeah, and I try so hard to like stay away from the competition thing, just because music's so uncompetitive.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, yeah, especially now, like now at my age, I'm it's hard for me to even justify releasing it most of the time. Like, it's just kind of like, why? I think we talked about this before, where it was like releasing music was the work and making it was the fun, where it used to be kind of the other way around. But
yeah, absolutely. I don't. Yeah, I fucking hate dealing with release stuff. I'm trying to deal with a release right now and just like figuring out the art and like finalizing the mix downs and all that kind of shit. and
Yeah.
then coming up with a release plan and figuring out distribution options and all that kind of stuff is definitely not the most fun. It's kind of just admin basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So like how's your like income to live show income rate, or streaming income to live show income ratio? I mean, you don't have to like give me numbers or anything like that publicly, but
Yeah. So when I'm like gigging fairly heavily, it's basically 50% my website and 50% shows.
yeah.
And when I'm not gigging heavily at all, it's obviously like 100% website, 0% shows.
And your website is like the Ableton Ear stuff.
Yeah, I just have my screen name set as my website right now. I was like, that seems
Okay.
efficient.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, nice.
yeah. Yeah. So it's basically just like, what I've done always from like the get go is my sort of ethos or my idea from the start was people should be able to go to just one place and get all my shit, like
Yeah.
they shouldn't have to go to like Facebook to get something and then Twitter to get something and then YouTube to get something and so on. Like they should just be able to go to one spot and just have everything. So I've tried to do that, and then I just charge people $20 a month to get access to everything, and it's always been that way. It used to be 15. Actually, it was $10 a month, and then 15, and now it's 20, just because like there's so much content there now.
Yeah. Plus
But yeah.
inflation. You got to blame it.
Yeah, exactly. Also inflation. But yeah, people can go there and like literally download every sample pack I've ever put out, every tutorial I've put out, like every stream I've ever done on Twitch. They can watch it again. Like it's just everything is there. It's crazy. There's literally like thousands and thousands of hours of video there.
Would you say that your overhead is more than 10%? Like
No,
to run the site?
No, not at all. It's like doing quick maths. It's like
I'm just trying to like compare it against Patreon.
No, it's way less. It's like it's got to be like 2%, if that, like 1 or 2%.
Really? Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, that I just shut my Patreon. Well, I didn't shut my Patreon down. I like soft closed it. I basically said to my patrons, I'm not going to do anything here anymore.
Yeah.
I'm shifting everything over to my website, and I work with my web developer because I was just using Patreon for the podcast anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did is just like built a essentially private podcasting platform on the website, which took a while, but it's not that difficult. Basically, all you have to do is like when somebody subscribes for like the podcast tier, they just get sent a private RSS feed that's generated by the website, and then they just put that in their podcatcher or whatever, and then every week you release a private thing on that RSS feed, or every 2 weeks, I think we're doing now.
Yeah.
You get like that just gets fed into that private RSS feed, so they get access to that private feed or whatever.
How does your music fit into that? Does your albums go there too, or?
They don't yet, but they are slowly going up there. So basically, the way my music currently fits with it is mostly people need to currently go to Bandcamp and Spotify to listen to my stuff, but I want to work it all into the website. It's just hard to build a platform that's better than Bandcamp or Spotify, and I don't see the point.
I'm very up to my eyes in that right now.
Building like your own sort of platform.
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe we can like share notes or something.
Sure. Yeah. No. It's kind of funny. I have like just now. I've like opened my Discord server. There's like a private channel on my Discord server where I'm kind of opening some ideas there, and I have like it's weird. I have like kind of different groups like coming up with certain ideas and trying to sort it all out to basically make a decentralized Spotify that wouldn't have an owner, right? Like the owners would be every member would be the owner, not necessarily the musicians. And the only way in financially would be to be a subscriber, and the only way out financially would be to be a musician. So there would be no like reason to invest in it other than from the start. So what I'm kind of leaning towards now is to start that and to get it like off because like already right now, if you wanted to hear like the last couple songs I wrote and what I'm working on, you could just go to my website and it's like already up there. Yeah, I don't know if it's streaming from an IPFS from a decentralized server right now, but Yeah, basically, like it's just called non-album, and it's just like whatever I'm making, and I can change it and delete it, and it's like a biological living album that is slowly being
Oh,
made.
that's interesting. Yeah, I've had this idea before, like trying to draw the parallel between music and software and
Hmm.
versions.
Yeah,
And I was like, man, it could be cool to like have it be almost like GitHub where you just constantly have forks and all that kind of shit. But
yeah,
um
yeah. My music is
yeah.
like when I upload a session now, or I'm not sure how synced it is at the moment, but yeah, my music goes to GitHub now. Like
Oh,
that's
interesting. Wait, so is this on alphabasic.com or
just the flashbulb.co.uk or the flashbulb.net. Yeah, either.
why is it .co.uk?
I don't know. It was available.
Right. .co.uk. All right, let's see. Non-album. Oh, cool. So like basically Red Ball Jan 2020 or Jan 22, like if you updated it tomorrow, you'd just like get rid of that one and put up Red
Yeah,
Ball March 11.
yeah,
Cool. That's awesome.
yeah. And then
And
like,
then what would happen to the Jan 22 one? Would anyone have access to that or just if they'd already downloaded it?
so the idea is it would be archived on that decentralized file system. So you could always scroll back
Which
and go back
is
to the old ones, which would be like
which is
that's
currently GitHub.
yeah, currently it's, I mean, GitHub isn't decentralized, but that's currently what I'm developing, is like a system where you could do that. But it would also provide the same sort of features that Spotify provides, except that, the money doesn't go to Joe Rogan and Daniel Ek, it goes to the artists.
Yeah, do you think Joe Rogan has like a pretty big investment in Spotify now? I know he got given obviously $100 million, but do you
Yeah.
think that was like the end of their deal? Or you
No, I'm sure he gets more. Because it would be dumb for them to just give him all that money and not incentivize him to like continue drawing advertisers or whatever. Um,
well,
you
I
know,
think like probably the incentive was the $100 million, right? And then they probably were like, you now have an obligation to do XYZ for the next 10 years or something.
yeah, yeah. But you probably always want to keep like some sort of organic incentivization as well, right? Like,
Right.
um, yeah. But yeah. Who knows? I mean, it seems like it seems
Well,
like they're not bothered
apparently,
by his.
hey, Charlie L. West, can you post a link to that? Someone says that it recently came out that it was actually 200 million. I guess I could just Google it. I'm not a dummy. Whoa, and the 100 million was a 2-year contract. That is insane.
I
Oh,
mean,
here we
I
go.
feel,
MSN.com or finance.yahoo.com. I guess it's on Forbes. It's on New York Times. All right, this seems legit.
yeah.
Wait, it got more than it counted on. Oh, you fuck. New York Times wants me to subscribe. I subscribed to New York Times and then I unsubscribed because it just seemed too like gossipy. It was just like these people in Texas are annoyed that Elon Musk is building a space station next to them, and it's like, yeah, it's also a city with like 10 people in it. It's probably the best place to do it.
It's funny because like so many times when like the Ian Urbina thing was going down, like so many interviews, I was like, who the fuck under 50 subscribes to the New York Times except for like crossword puzzle enthusiasts?
Yo, have you
Like
played Wordle?
yeah,
It's sick.
for like, did you get bored of it yet though? It's kind of funny because I feel like they bought it right at like the climax, and
Yeah.
it's not going to get any more exciting.
Yeah, I played Wordle for a bit, and then I started playing this one called Polydle, which is where you have like 20 words at a time that you're like trying to solve all of them at the same time.
Yeah,
Wait, there's Chordle? What the fuck?
yeah. Chordal's pretty crazy. It's like there's Chordal, and then there's like a math one as well.
Oh my god, like Mathdle.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Thomas has a
Hurdle.
question. Mr. Bill, how do you feel with providing the pay gateway for your site and how it links to downloading your content? Are we talking WordPress with pay gateways or all the third-party stuff? I
Oh
guess he
right,
means
yeah.
like, are you using like a million different middlemen, or is it kind of direct?
No, it's all mostly direct,
Hmm.
which is kind of crazy, and that's why it takes us so long to like get content up there because for like I don't think people quite realize, but like whenever I start releasing a new type of content, like a sample pack or like a project files or something like that. It's like, all right, let's basically build Splice Lite,
Right.
to
Yeah.
like do that, and it takes a long time. It's like you can't just people like share this, and it's like, all right, let me just build Spotify real quick again.
Right.
And then it's me and my web
Some
developer going back and forward on that for a few months or a year.
something as simple as like a React playlist player is like
Dude,
really
yeah, getting
difficult.
like fucking snappy, nice React players, it's
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah.
Building a nice website is tough.
Yeah, yeah, it's like legitimate, and it's funny because I probably spent so much money on Code Canyon and places like that just to like, which is just for those who don't know, it's like a place where you could just buy a previously made HTML5 player or something like that. But I've not to like just copy and paste it to my site, but to like learn how it's working, to like reverse engineer it because it's not like super expensive, and yeah, and I feel like that just makes it worse. Like I just get even more confused then because like you're like following somebody else's workflow and yeah. I don't know, but
Right. Yeah, and I I also think having a website where it is just a bunch of middlemen, like a bunch of you just have a website where you've got like a Bandcamp embedded player, and like your
yeah,
Twitter feed is just there embedded, and your Instagram feed is there embedded. It's like just use a fucking Linktree or a Smart Link
right,
or whatever.
yeah,
um, yeah, so I don't really want to go that route. I kind of want to, build everything bespoke so it can be exactly how we want it. And
Ian Graham says, as a web dev, it's nice to hear people acknowledge it's not so easy, which is like so true. I know so many people who are like, oh God, I used to use MySpace. I know HTML.
oh
Like
yeah,
I
man.
used to change the color of my MySpace page. It's like, yeah, I don't think that's coding really. I think that's just, but
Oh, so this Thomas dude is like, all my stuff was built on WordPress, and same. But WordPress is kind of like it's like kind of like Reactor or like Max for Live or something like that. Like it is WordPress actually. It's kind of like Ableton, and then I guess there's like plugins that you can build inside it. That
yeah.
you can go pretty deep with WordPress. So
However, if you
yeah,
don't like update it constantly,
that
you're
is also true. Yeah, you need to
yeah,
be
you're like
pretty on the ball, or it
like
breaks all the time.
I've had quite a few hacks as a result of like back when I had Alpha Basic, I would give artists their own like subdomain and then they'd install WordPress and then not update it for 3 years and then all of a sudden we'd have this massive like site hack. Our site would just be like fucking Viagra Cialis. Um, yeah, no, Thomas knows his stuff. He runs some game servers on my Discord and
Nice.
I'm about to have like I remember we both bought new PCs around the same time, didn't we? Like,
Yeah, during quarantine.
I think it was before that, wasn't it? Like, I think that's when we first started like chatting on
I
Facebook or
built
something.
mine. Yeah, I think so. I built mine. I think in like April 2020 or May
Yeah,
2020, something like that. I remember I was asking you a bunch of questions about the Ryzen processor, and also about like how
yeah,
you think I should partition my NVMe drives.
yeah, and like, um, but yeah, it's funny. I think because now I have like these two identical systems essentially, except one has more video cards than the other. And
Mm.
one's for like video editing and web browsing, and the other one's for music. And I'm kind of realizing that workflow is terrible. It's like just awful to have two different machines. And
Yeah,
so,
it's really nice just having everything consolidated. That's why I built this machine in the first place, so I could
yeah,
stream and work off the same computer. Because I had the same thing. I had two systems, and one system would feed into the other, so I could stream.
yeah,
And it's just a pain in the ass. Like I needed to have like a KVM switch and like all sorts of shit. And I was just like, man, this sucks. I just want to like have
yeah.
everything in one.
And so I think I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna consolidate them into like one supercomputer, and then the other one is going to be a server that I'm going to put in a server rack that will basically host. It'll be like a massive node for decentralized stuff because I'm about to get fiber. Well, I just had fiber installed to my house, and
Nice.
yeah,
Is it
so now
direct to the node, or is it like copper out to the thing and then fiber to
it's
the node?
um I think it's 2 gigs up and down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
like
nuts.
it's pretty legit. It's like server speed. So,
Right.
um, so I'm pretty excited about that. But that, I mean, just for
Mm.
this type of program, that's kind of what or just for the type of like being able to like test having people like access my music on like an encrypted, decentralized platform that's actually literally coming from my house. Like that's
Mm.
really, and if it's not, then like other people hosting it at the time or other people storing it, I'll be able to be able to do that. So that'll
Mm.
be. I'm excited for that to see how that works out. But yeah, we should definitely talk about that in the future because I feel like I do want it to grow in bumps with artists that are like exceedingly more popular, not to like grow the platform as much as to just test the platform, like stress it, you know, like, yeah. But anyway, there's
Hey, out of curiosity,
yeah,
is your roof office roof? Like, is it the kind of roof that you can like push in?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They're it's sound foam tiles. Yeah.
right. So I used to have a studio with that kind of roof in it,
Mhm.
and what I did was just like pushed all of those panels in and filled the entire inside of it with R30, and it turns your entire roof into like a cloud, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I got to look at this. That's
So R30, it's just like you go to the back of Lowe's or Home Depot. It's like insulation, right? Um,
oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
yeah.
Um,
So you just go buy like a couple of baffles of that,
yeah.
and just like it's so easy to do. You like literally just push the thing in, just like fill it, and that's just your whole roof becomes a cloud. It's really nice.
It's yeah, yeah. So there is insulation on top of that, on top of
Okay.
those things. Because
Right.
I hung it, yeah, I hung it from like the concrete, and then like hung the metal bars, and
Hmm.
then I put a bunch of insulation up there, and then put the panels in. And there's a couple wires running like here and there, but it's pretty dead silent. And then yeah, I like over insulated everything. In fact, it's like really hot here right now. Like, I'm just kind of like dying. Like I don't want to open the window because it might be noisy, but there's like a lot of
Right.
bugs. But
Probably like all the gear as well, right? It's like lots of little mini heaters.
yeah, yeah, it does
Man,
create
I'm
a
in
lot of
a
heat.
I'm in a basement now, which is like a very different vibe to the like sort of nice lounge room vibe I had in SF. So I've been getting just like fuck all sun, and I'm like developing these bags under my eyes because I guess like
Hmm.
I'm not getting enough vitamin D or whatever.
Yeah. So how long have you been in Virginia?
I moved here like early January, so
Okay.
not that
Yeah.
long.
Okay. So I think I remember you mentioning the possibility of that in like September.
Yeah,
Because yeah, yeah. Because I think you thought that you might be like 3 hours away from me or something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like
I am more
yeah.
like 7, I think, from Atlanta.
Still not terrible.
Hmm.
Do you have like a good community there? Like, do you have friends and or are
So
you just?
I live with my manager, so that's cool. Having like a
Hmm.
housemate, I enjoy being around.
Yeah,
And other than that, no, not really. I go to NA meetings, so I guess like there's those people,
yeah.
and I go to the climbing gym, though I don't talk to anyone there, but at
How
least that
how
puts me around people.
how is that? I'm about to like go into a rappelling course because I want to do some cave recordings.
Oh, cool. Climbing is sweet, man. It's yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's just a bouldering gym. It's not very big. It's not like the gyms in SF where there's like tons of top roping and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. I mean, I find the rating systems from like state to state differ in terms of how difficult they are. Like a V2 in Colorado is like the hardest shit ever, and like a V2 in Northern California is like pretty easy.
Hmm.
And here they're actually quite hard, I've noticed, which is interesting. Like you would think in somewhere like Virginia, there wouldn't be such a heavy climbing scene, but I guess because UVA is here, there's like a whole climbing club there or whatever. So pretty much every night there's just like it's just full of college kids
Yeah.
hanging off the roofs and shit.
Huh. Yeah. I was kind of like amazed to find out that there's so much caving in Georgia. Like I had no idea that there's such a vibrant collection of caves in,
Hmm.
especially like here and north of here.
Are you gonna
Um,
do like impulse response recordings, or are you just gonna go in and
but
record
yeah,
what?
I want to do some impulse response recordings. It's fucking terrifying though. I mean, yeah, it's like the most terrifying thing yet, I think. And I've reached out to a lot of people, and it's funny because like half of them are like, nah, don't. Like, they're just like professional, like not professional, but like people who like go caving every weekend. And they're just like, no, you probably don't want to do that. And then other people are like, no, just take your time. And pretty excited about it though. Like that'll but at the same time, I am terrified too. Like, the idea of like being pancaked between two rocks for a quarter mile while you army
Dude,
crawl
yeah,
to like,
that's
it's like
fucking do you get claustrophobic?
not more than the average, probably average amount. I get more fear of heights than claustrophobic, I think. So,
Interesting. Yeah, heights, yeah, but like I don't know. I guess like the most height shit I experience is generally like top roping, and feel pretty safe with that. Like those ropes are designed to hold a lot of weight,
yeah.
and if you just tie yourself in, probably pretty safe. But I went to like the St. Louis Museum. Have you been there?
Yeah.
The City
The
Museum.
City
It's
Museum, yeah.
crazy,
That place
dude.
is
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
And there's like some spots where you're basically like army crawling through and shit. And I was getting crazy claustrophobia in there. Also the cool thing about St. Louis, it's like I'm like kind of into chess, and it's a massive chess. Like it's probably the chess capital of the US.
Hmm.
It's where like all the grandmasters from. It's also where the lady with the highest IQ ever recorded is from.
Is she still alive?
I don't know
Is
actually.
she still
Maybe.
there? Just like, can we talk to her? That's funny.
Let's see.
Because I've been there quite a few times because it's like not that far from Chicago, and yeah, spent quite a bit of time there. Um, yeah, but
She was born in 1946. When she was 10, she had the intelligence of a 22-year-old boy. I like that they have to like say that it was a boy, not a.
yeah, and it's like a 22-year-old boy supposed to be smarter or dumber than a 22-year-old girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in there, because I kind of I'm not that big, I don't really believe IQ tests that much anyway. Like I feel like it's a little more complicated than
Right. Yeah, she's still alive.
much.
She's 75.
All right.
Her IQ is what is her IQ? Uh, shit. Where is it? She's a wait savant. Well, her name is Marilyn Voss Savant. Oh, maybe this is where the term like savant comes from.
That'd be pretty funny if it was.
Right. What is her IQ though? It's like pretty difficult. Oh, she had a fucking IQ of 228. Damn, it's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
basically IQ. It just means like how good you are at spinning a shape in your head. I feel like
yeah,
it's
right.
like here's one
Yeah.
shape. Here it is back to front and flipped four
Yeah.
times. Which one is the same shape? It's like all right.
And yeah, because I've scored well on those tests, and then had like major issues with like very simple things where like every person I was around was able to sort it out right away, and I was just like, wait, I can't grasp this simple thing that's happening. I feel like it's such a subjective thing.
What the fuck? There's wait the two boys problem. A shopkeeper says he has two new baby beagles to show you, but she
Okay.
doesn't know whether they're male, female, or a pair. You tell her that you only want a male, and she telephones the fellow who's giving them a bath. Is at least one of them a male? She asks him. Yes, she informs you with a smile. What is the probability that the other one is a male?
Yeah, see, I don't even understand the question.
It basically like I'm a shopkeeper. I have two beagles, but I don't actually have the two beagles. Somebody who's giving them a bath that I can phone is has the two beagles. And you're like, I only want a male beagle. So I call the dude giving them a bath and I say, hey, is one of these beagles a male? And he says, yes. And then I go, yes, Ben, one of those beagles is a male. What's the chances that the other beagle is also a male?
Huh.
I mean, I don't even know how to fucking work that shit out, but like apparently she did.
Well, you got like
She said the chance is 1 out of 3.
well, yeah, you have
Um,
4 likely possibilities, or equal possibilities, right?
yeah, that's what she's saying. If we could shake a pair of puppies out of a cup the way we do with dice, there are 4 ways that they could land,
Oh.
in 3 of which at least one is male, but in only 1 of which none are male.
Yeah, so it's just one of the 3 remaining possibilities.
Yeah, okay. Thomas Loop said 30%. There you go. Fucking 228 IQ person over here.
Yeah.
Right.
See?
One doesn't influence the other. Someone said it's 50-50. Yeah. So apparently, like a lot of readers who answered this, because I guess this was asked in like a magazine or something, um, most readers wrote that the odds were 50-50.
Oh, I see. I see why. It's a bit of like it's a bit of a trick, isn't it? Um, yeah, no, I think Thomas was right. I think it's 30. I think it's 1/3.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
30%.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly why, but I think I kind of intrinsically understand.
Break it down into XY. Like so you could have
All right.
XY, you could yeah, like into your
So there's
four different.
right, and we know. So we already know that one's a male, so we're only interested in the other one, right?
Yeah. So like X could be male, Y could be male, X could be male, Y could be female, X could be female, Y could be male, X could be female, Y could be female. So we already have one of those removed. We
Right.
have
Yeah,
the
the one
first
that's
one.
female and female is not a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, 1 in 3 that it, yeah,
Yep.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, that's a weird little thing to work out. I wonder how quick she works it out too. She probably was just like, I'm a savant.
Yeah.
Wait, but I'm really interested to know if this is where the word savant come from. I'm gonna like just look up etymology of savant. Learned person of scholar, an idiot savant, or a man of learning or science. Man, they got to change some of these definitions to say a person. A person of, oh, here we go. They did actually on the Merriam-Webster. Synonyms. Yeah, I'm just some etymology. Oh wait, no, I guess was this seven? Oh, they did. This word's been around since like 1719 at least.
Yeah. I'm
So that's just weird that her name was Marilyn Voss Savant. It's just like a coincidence.
it's interesting too that they like for example in anything you read about dogs they almost always gender them as men. Like it's always like your little puppy boy, or it's always he. Like he'll be very excited, he'll feel better, things like that. And it's weirdly you take offense to that when you have like the most feminine dog in the world. But
Wait, what people don't realize is that people who have a 228 IQ are just testing your IQ.
yeah.
It's very true. Yeah.
well it's, and like isn't a
They're
savant
they're
like
just
only
like
good at
prodding you to see if you're like good for breeding or something.
and isn't a savant only well I mean to lend to that, there's a pretty funny thing where like that like one of my family members said like it they were talking about how everybody in prison is stupid. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. And they're like, think about it. Like the cop is of average intelligence, and like, and then a detective is just a cop that has been on the force long enough to get a graduation to become a detective. And the detective solved the crimes of like these people, so they are, generally going to be an average intelligence below the police officer. And so therefore, like, if you're a smart criminal, you're pretty much set. Like it's like, yeah, it's kind of makes. I mean, there's some flaws to that because like
kind of, but also like some people are just fucking crazy. Like for instance, do you know about this guy Spanion? He runs this YouTube channel, and he's this Australian dude who's just insane. He's like diagnosed like psychotic or psychopath or whatever. Is psychotic and psychopath? No, I think psychopath is different, right? So
no, I
he's
think they're the same.
diagnosed.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's diagnosed whatever that one is. When he was like, I want to say like 10 years old, he held his school up in a siege with a knife, and then he basically like was addicted to heroin by the age of like 12 or something. He grew up in like inner West Sydney and like just total nutcase. And he has become like kind of this infamous criminal now on YouTube who's like out of jail now, has kind of turned his life around, is just all into fitness and shit. And he just like does a lot of these videos where he talks to the camera and is like, hey, what's up? And tells people stories about his past. And one of the stories that he tells, he also wrote a book. And one of the stories he tells in his book is actually, I don't think this was a story he told in his book. I think he was on a podcast with a ex police officer, and the police officer was like asked him about this, and then he like elaborated on it. But basically he was in jail for, I want to say, a series of years, doing a stint for stabbing someone, and then he like got on the phone with someone and like had an argument in jail, and said basically like, whenever I get out, I'm just gonna come and stab you because you're a fucking piece of shit or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he got out of jail like 2 years after having that phone call, went straight to that dude's house, stabbed him, and then went straight back to jail. And
Yeah.
like, so I
That's
mean, some people are just like that, you know, like you don't have to be. It's not necessarily that he's not smart, because he definitely is. Like, if you listen to him talk and shit, he knows what's up. But like,
well.
it's just
There's also like if you and I decided that we were going to rob a bank, I'm pretty sure we could get away with it for 24 hours. But the problem is that there's going to be a massive team for 2 years working on solving that case.
right,
Not only the
exactly.
police, but you're also going to have like the insurance company, and you're also going to have like the corporate office, hiring private investigators. And so, like, yeah, the amount of like cleanup you have to do is yeah. But that's interesting. Yeah, I've seen some of those like prison story channels.
Also, these days, like robbing a bank probably wouldn't consist of like going to the bank anymore, right? That seems like it would be a bit of a online job these days, maybe.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, like if we were to sit down and think about this, I don't think our end answer would be like, all right, so like I'll drive the car, you wear the bandana and get a sawn off shotgun and like go in.
I
Like,
wish that'd be awesome. Like, that'd
I
be
think the answer would be something more along the lines of like, how about we create a system that just goes to like the Australian TAB website and just like keeps putting small micro bets on horses or something like that.
yeah. And I think like or like one of the better better, worse. I mean, there's a victim who's probably traumatized for life for this, but one of the more clever bank robbery stories was it was two people, and one of them kind of studied the manager of the bank, like the general manager, and it was this woman who was like middle aged, and they like broke into her house at night, and when she woke up in the morning, they put a bomb on her, and just put this explosive device on her and like a microphone, and said we could hear everything you say, and like at this time you're going to go into the vault and you're going to like pack up this much money, $1 million or whatever, and then you're going to meet us at this location. And then they kept changing the location and like just putting her on this like wild goose chase all day, trying not to explode to deliver money to like a random mailbox or something. And they ended up getting away with it, and they never got caught. But they don't even think it was a real bomb. They just were like, they put like
Dude,
a
what about that Unabomber guy? Was it the Unabomber who like strapped that bomb to the dude's neck, and then there was just a guy who did the same thing. He like had to walk into a bank, steal a bunch of money, and then after he like stole the money, the cops like had him on the ground, and he was like, no, like I've got this bomb on my neck, like someone's trying to like make me do all this shit. And then like in front of all the cops, his head just fucking exploded.
Jesus, was that
Yeah,
the Unabomber?
I
I
think
thought
it
the
was
Unabomber was just like more political or
like
something, wasn't it?
nail
Yeah, he was
bombs.
like, hmm.
Hold on,
I mean, that's
next
a
bomb.
great idea to like do anyway. Like just rob a bank, and like if they catch you, be like, nah, dude, they're gonna blow my head off. And they're like,
Oh, here
who?
we
And be
go.
like,
Yeah, so
Biden, or whoever.
Brian Douglas Wells was an American pizza delivery man who was murdered during a complex plot involving a bank robbery, scavenger hunt, and a homemade explosive device near his town of
Jesus.
Erie, Pennsylvania. Following an attempt to rob a PNC bank, and while surrounded by police, he was murdered while an explosive collar locked to his neck detonated. And it is
God.
known as the collar bomb or the pizza bomber case. And the incident was shown on live television.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I think
Like I can't imagine this happening without like Jason Statham in the background being like,
I
no, or like
mean,
it's so
yeah,
movie. It's such a Hollywood thing. Like I had no idea
yeah,
that
man.
there's ever been a neck bracelet bomb outside of a film.
Yeah, so it might not have been cause of death, collar bomb. All right. Um, yeah, well, who was it? It was. Oh wait, and then there was like a bunch more. There was some another delivery driver who worked at the same pizza store as this guy, Robert Thomas Pinetti, was found dead in his home from a drug overdose soon after. Um, and then someone else who was like kind of related was found dead pretty soon after too. Um, but yeah, I'm curious as to um, if they ever found out who did this. It was some Netflix documentary I put on one night and fell asleep to.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't think I found out like who actually did it in the end. But
That's yeah. I've just been watching King of the Hill from like the first episode on, because I've never watched it before, and
what do you think of King of the Hill?
I love it. It's
Really?
great. Yeah, I saw a few clips randomly, just like on YouTube or something, or like, and I was like, I've never watched this show, and maybe it's time I give it a chance. It's like my before bed thing when I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep. And so far, thanks for the donations, by the way, everybody. And so far, I'm pretty close. I think I'm like in the last. I think I have like 2 more seasons to go or something, but I'm pretty. I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Nice. I feel like if I'm gonna watch anything by Mike Judge, it's gonna be Beavis and Butthead Do America again for like the 40th time. And now I live pretty close to DC. I can like relate to some of the shit in it more.
Yeah. Or play Fallout 3.
Or Silicon Valley, if you watch that.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah. That's crazy that like Mike Judge made King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead and then Silicon Valley.
And Office Space and Idiocracy. Space. Yeah.
Oh, dude, Idiocracy is so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, Silicon Valley's excellent. Like, there's the character development in that show is mind-bogglingly good. Like, there's so many. It's like one of those shows where you just think about it after you watch it.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yo, do you mind if I make a coffee real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, cool. We do a bathroom break, or you want to just kind of sit here and...
I'll do a bath because I have to pee too. So I could put this up and then like I'll put a little thing up just in case I accidentally walk back in with my penis out, which I do every couple shows now. No, I'm joking. All right. I'll be right back.
No, I ate a snack on the way home. It was fucking rough, man. Yeah. I complained about getting trapped at shows now that I'm sober again. It's like, I feel trapped. I'm on the shelter with my 27-year-old schizophrenic son. Crackheads are constantly trying to fucking, far ladders from me. Oh, yeah.
You could probably hear me. I was thinking of like a fun. Can I mute him? Yeah, okay. I've muted him. Just in case he's having a very personal conversation. What was I going to share? Maybe I'll just read the questions instead of sharing things. Yeah, I should have brought a lav mic. Which reminds me, so tomorrow I'm going to Georgia Tech because it is the Guthman Awards, which is innovative musical instruments, and that's going to be really exciting. I think like the actual judging is done tomorrow, and then like the commencement or the actual award show, whatever that's like, happens on Saturday, and then sorry, gotta charge my lav mics, and then Saturday I think there's an after party. So anybody in Atlanta. Definitely check this stuff out. But tomorrow it's just private, and I will be doing an interview with some of the instrument makers and doing a demo, or having them do a demo, which will be super nice. That'll be fun. Yeah, no streaming, unfortunately. I thought about streaming it. I thought about actually this week. I thought about like pushing my stream back a day and doing that, but it's hard enough with technical things to do here, so I'm not going to try and do it like Wi-Fi on a college Wi-Fi network or something. But yeah, video will be good. Yeah. I'm trying to find the. There we go. And then maybe I could share this browser. Let's see if I can do that. Let's see if I could remember how to do this. Share screen. Share a Chrome tab. There we go. Boop. Look at that. So yeah, this is the, I'm going to take the bathroom break banner off. That's a lot of banners. Okay. Yeah, this is the competition. So, Saturday, March 12th at 7 p.m. is when the competitive concert is taking place. And then I believe there's an after party at some gallery/bar on Saturday. But these are our finalists. Let me move my camera down a little bit. I must have shrank. All of my pee is stored in my feet. And so after I pee, I shrink a couple inches. All right. This is the Choundolo, which is this like, I can't play, I'm scared to play these videos, but there's like a pendulum that's like magnetically affected by these different kind of oscillatory things. I don't think that maybe this person is meeting me tomorrow. I know that this guy's meeting me. This is a crazy like saxophone type reed instrument, but it's like a fretless saxophone, which is really cool. I have not communicated with this person, but it has something to do with plants. Hypercubes. These are cubes that you connect together to... Oh, sorry, Bill. I've muted you. Okay.
No, you're good.
Yeah, these are cubes that connect together that allow you to create your own like little synthesizer with cubes. Not sure if the globe people, I've been like trying to talk to all these people throughout the last couple days, and it's been a mess. Cicada is one of the finalists. I have a bunch of those up there, and they'll be there as well. So we're gonna like mix all our cicadas up. Oh yeah, and then another one I'm really excited about is T-Vox. So this is a theremin that speaks, that can sing words, which is, I have no idea how it works, but I'm really excited to meet Zhao. So that'll be fun. So that's happening. That's where I'm going tomorrow, and that'll probably be my next short video. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jade Cicada's like, cicada, you see. Dude, I'm stoked for Jade Cicada to be doing shows again.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
He's cool. He makes cool music. You should check it out.
Do you have any shows booked at all?
I do, yeah. I have a whole tour coming up, but I've not announced it yet. I think I'll probably be announcing it in the next like week or two. We're just like trying to finalize some art and stuff.
Sure.
Wait,
cool.
Someone said I couldn't chime in when you guys were talking about it, but I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania, of the pizza bomber delivery. And the guy who exploded lived in a rental unit behind my friend's house. Damn.
That's epic. Jesus.
I just got this book off Amazon. It's called The Brain That Changes Itself.
Is it about neuroplasticity?
It is exactly about that. Yeah. Yeah, I've been getting a bunch of books lately about like, yeah, neuroscience shit and addiction and all sorts of crap to try and figure out what's going on with my brain and other brains in general.
I've thought about that a lot, man. I've thought about like when somebody's like predisposed to have addictive issues, like that's obviously a neuronal connection, but like what can that be? Can that be like rerouted to something else, to like you just get addicted? Well, I mean, addiction's such a funny word because like you could get addicted to like, there's so many people who, a good example that I almost said his name and I don't want to say his name. There's a guy who used to be he used to work at the boxing training camp that I went to, and he's now a police officer actually, but he he was a bodybuilder, and he was a natural bodybuilder. He wouldn't use any steroids or anything like that. The only like whey protein and creatine were the only two things he would ever take. And he had scars on like, and it, you know, it was like he just was like the healthiest person I ever met. But he had like scars all over his body from operations, from having his ligaments like, and this is like a 22-year-old guy, and he had like ligaments like, you know, repaired, and constantly had to go through like rehab and all the stuff for all the stuff. And it was kind of made me think like, this is probably worse than a drug addiction, like for, you know, for his body and for his long-term health and everything else. Like he's like so addicted to being physically fit that, and I don't know. Yeah. And it's funny because I've noticed that like when I've made a point to like stop drinking for a while or something like that, then I'll just end up like, you know, fucking like going back into kickboxing or like lifting weights or mountain biking in a really, you know, reckless way or something like that. And so.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. It's like, whatever I do, I just do it to like the nth degree, you know?
Yeah.
Like if I get into like drug use or drinking, I just become like the most heinous abuser of a substance. Or if I get into like mountain biking, I just do it like every single day. Or if I get into climbing, I just do it every single day. It's like,
yeah, I remember talking to you about mountain biking, and I was like, holy fuck, you're so much more into mountain biking than I am. And I thought that I was at my like, you know, I was like, oh wow, I thought I was doing it a lot. You're doing it like an immense amount. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I was going at one point just like every day, sometimes like twice a day, like morning. Because I was living like right next to Mount Sutro in SF, which is just a crazy trail. And it was just so easy to just like, you know, ride my bike out of my garage and just be there in like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Someone's saying, is that a symptom of ADHD? It might be, but I honestly think like ADHD, right, is where you kind of like task switch a ton or something, or like can't concentrate on shit, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like I find I have the opposite thing. It's like I get like locked onto things, and
yeah,
like,
I'm very close to somebody who has like severe ADHD, and I would say that it's like, imagine that you decided that like moving, you just signed a lease to a house, and you decided that you need an extra room, and you get so focused on that idea, or you get so like crazy with that idea where anybody who tells you like, no, you got to break a lease to get this new house, and you're just not going to listen to it because like you're just so focused on doing that. And you know, and you'll look at a place and you might sign a new lease, and then the next day you don't really understand why you did it, and you know, and then a day later you need a new car or something, or you know, or a day later you want to rekindle an old friendship or whatever. It's like, I feel like that's the person who I know who has extreme ADHD. I feel like that's what their personality is like.
Damn, a bunch of people are saying here that I might have hyperfocus. I've never actually heard of that. Hyperfocus is an intense form of mental concentration or visualization that focuses consciousness on a subject, topic, or task. In some individuals, various subjects or topics may also include daydreams, concepts, fiction, the imagination, and other objects of the mind. Hyperfocus on a certain subject can cause sidetracking away from a side. Dude, this is literally me. Like, I'll fucking procrastinate on doing like shit that I know I should do with writing albums worth of music. I'll be like, oh yes, I know I should do my taxes, but like instead I'm just fucking in Ableton, like writing tons of music.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I should go and like read my emails and respond to some shit. But then I'm just like, or I could make 60 Vital presets.
Which is really funny because like 2 years ago, I was like really angry because I couldn't get all my tax documentation in time for the first day that I could file my taxes, which is like usually not the case. Usually I'm just as apathetic about taxes as anybody else. But for some reason that year I was just obsessed with like accounting my taxes. And so I was like not responding to like, you know, music related emails and things because I was like come on, ASCAP, hurry up with that paperwork. Like, I want to do my taxes. Yeah.
Give me my damn 1099.
Yeah. Like I was like, and like I filed it the moment I could. And I actually, that was the year that COVID happened. And I filed my taxes early, and believe it or not, for some reason, that created a glitch where I didn't get any relief checks. And I was able to like deduct them from my taxes the next year anyway, so it was like made it right. But Yeah, it was funny because I didn't get any of the like stimulus checks, like because I filed my I got punished for filing my taxes too early. It's like,
Damn.
all right, guys.
Yeah, man. Um, yeah, unfortunately, taxes and financial shit is something that I did not have hyper focus with. That's something that gives me just seething anxiety.
Yeah.
Not sure why. It's just, I don't know. I have this feeling that I'll like fill out the wrong form or something, and then my life will turn to shit, and like someone will be after me with a clipboard.
Yeah, it. Part of me always wants to say like I don't think I make enough. Like you know, like I feel like you really need to own a lucrative business or something like that, like a highly lucrative business for like the understaffed, under budgeted IRS to actually pay attention to it and make it a priority. But
Yeah. I
I
mean,
feel like
there is that, but like at the
I
same
feel like that's
time,
not the case either.
it's probably not. And
I feel like it
also,
might be
like,
random.
just on the slight chance that it isn't, if you do get like targeted by the IRS, it can fuck your life up, you know?
Oh,
I think.
I've been audited before, and I got audited because I was an idiot. I just took a 6-figure check and put it into a checking account. It
Right, that was for
like,
the legal thing?
no, this is like in 2004, 2006 for Dove, for the
Mm.
Dove Evolution ad. Like
Oh,
I just
right,
got
yeah.
like all of my
Damn, you got
residuals.
paid 6 figures for that?
Yeah, and I got like all my residuals in one, and like, and I didn't know what to do with money. You know, I had no fucking idea. I was just like, well, I could get awesome shoes. I know that much. I bought a lot of shoes. I traveled a bit. I got like a nice apartment. I mean, I didn't do anything smart with it, and I gave a lot of it away. Like I donated tons of it away. And then like tried to set up programs. And then the next time I had like some sort of windfall in my career, I set up a nonprofit music school. And like it just essentially like churned it all into a charity that lasted for a little while. And now I'm trying to basically start, you know, I'm trying to figure out like the logistics of a nonprofit, but by the end of the year, I want to have a 501c3 with luck. And it'll be more of a incubator for a bunch of ideas rather than just one mission or one purpose. And it'll have a lot to do with like artists being paid properly. It'll have a lot to do with, you know, maybe funding another idea that somebody has that's similar or that, you know, is on the sort of, and so I'm very open-minded about it, which is difficult, for a lot of people don't like to hear open-minded people about things, especially when it comes to things like crypto or, you know, blockchain stuff. It feels like that everybody's very divisive and you can't just be like, yeah, if there's a solution there, then I'm all for it and I'll investigate that. But
Well, it's because there's like money associated with it, right? So it's like it's hard to trust that people's opinions are honest if there's, you know, some sort of money involvement there. But also not only that, I think like even if you trust the person, it's almost like you can't trust them because they can't trust themselves with when money is involved or something.
yeah,
That makes
but
sense. It just seems like there's too much
yeah,
at play for anyone to have like a legitimate opinion
at
on
the
that.
same time, there's like a $2,500 drum machine back there. And if you buy it from watching the video I make on it from Perfect Circuit, I'm going to get a cut of that through the affiliate program.
Right, so it's something. Yeah, I mean,
You know, and it's like
$2,500 versus like potentially something that could turn into like an NFT that's worth like $1 million or something.
yeah,
It's like a little different. I think that's the other thing with crypto, right? Is it's almost like this weird sort of gambling thing where when you're buying something, people could be like, yeah, well, you know, you're just telling. Like the equivalent, I guess, would be if drum machines were known to jump up and down in value by $6,000 to $10,000 a day or a minute or whatever.
yeah, sure.
Then it would be like, all right, that's a little different. But a drum machine that stays $2,500 for its lifetime almost is
Yeah.
a bit different to like Bitcoin or something.
Yeah, and I would never hawk something like Bitcoin anyway. I would never like hawk a cryptocurrency and be like, check out this coin. It's a moonshot. Like that's not, you know, that's not the, but you know, there's a lot of, I don't know if you get this, but I've gotten quite a few like NFT marketplaces and brokers offering me an affiliate. So like, for example, this is not the kid. This is not the company that this is just a broker that I use, but this is not, I'm not going to name the company, but let's say Kraken offered me, 10%, 8 to 10% on anybody who uses them through my affiliate link, which is insane. If all it takes is like, if I just had like a little 5-second thing or a link in my video, and if one person, decided to like, invest their, $100,000 crypto thing through Kraken because it offered a better deal that they found out through my video or through my link, then I get a massive percentage of that through Kraken just for like bringing the account in. And that's something I've avoided doing, just because I feel like there is a certain level of integrity lost with it. But I think a lot of people, when they point fingers, it's like, you don't realize how much money most creators are like not taking from that universe, from like there's there's a lot of money being offered to influencers to like hype coins or hype marketplaces and NFTs and stuff.
Honestly, I'm not getting those offers so much, and I think the reason why you probably are is because you like made all those videos about NFTs and stuff.
Yeah. And yeah, it's funny. I feel like, I don't think I've ever worked with one that reached out to me. The only one I worked with was Orica, and that's just because they were like offering to give. I mean, not only are they like mostly based in like charitable efforts, but they also, gave $5,000 to musicians with no strings attached, which is like, sure, yeah, go ahead.
Right.
I'm happy. But yeah, Lucy coin, that'd be nice. Yeah, but yeah, anyway, people are really divisive, and I think I was thinking about this a lot recently, since that, like, I don't know if you saw that video, like, line goes up, the problem with NFTs. It's like that viral video that came out like a month and a half ago, from Dan Olson, or
No, I didn't see it.
Folding Ideas. It's like this 2-hour, kind of anti-crypto piece where like he did a very good job at like researching things to back up his opinion, but it turned a lot of people really, really against anything on a blockchain. There's a lot of people who will say anything on a blockchain is part of a Ponzi scheme, which is like, and then, if you try and like
add this 2-hour video.
Yeah. And like people actually watch this, and, yeah, and and then if you try and add any sort of level of nuance to that, they're just like, nope, he said this and you're wrong and you're a fucking scam artist. And it's like, all right. Which has led to what, like, the blackmail thing where we started this out. Like, that's kind of where, like, that immediately that was sort of massaged to try and like get me to, pay somebody money to, to something that was like completely unrelated to crypto.
Yeah, I think, like, I don't know, there's just a few weird red flags with crypto. Like, for me, one of them is that the only thing people are ever talking about is like how many US dollars and shit it's worth.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, at the same time as like spouting off how many US dollars your NFT is worth, you're also like telling me that this is like a US dollar destroyer, right? So there's like a bit of a dissonance in opinion there with the shit you're talking about. If you really like believed in the technology, you wouldn't give a shit about the US dollar value.
And not only that, but I feel like just using it to invest in and to just like make a trading card type of environment is like, I always compared it to like, man inventing fire and then just like looking at it and burning shit. And instead of like making tools and like, cooking meat or whatever, just sort of being like, look at that awesome fire. It's hot. Let's burn some more shit with it and make it bigger. And then eventually it's going to burn out a little bit and we're going to have to like feed it more. And, it's like a really dumb way. You're not really being that constructive. But I recently was in a very large meeting where I didn't have any speaking privileges in it, but it was about blockchain archiving news in relation to Ukraine and Russia, with, basically doing it as quickly as possible so that way it can't be altered. And that way it could be like a good record of things for, not only like historical accuracy, but also like possible war crime prosecution in the future and stuff. And one of the people, like all the people who were speaking were all like very high level crypto developers, like Vitalik and like, like the guy who made Ethereum and all this other stuff. And it was kind of funny because like I don't think any of them, aside from validating donation addresses for Ukraine, which like at this point we're over $60 million in like crypto has been donated to Ukraine because they're very strong on crypto. And aside from like validating addresses to make sure that there's no fraud going on, like none of them spoke about money or finance in any way. Like they spoke about like using an advanced system over time to essentially like set up democratic rule, which was like so. And you know, at first I was like kind of like rolling my eyes, like, are they on drugs? Like, what the fuck are they talking about? And but when I thought about it more, it was like, holy shit! Like you're talking about like setting up a very rigid system that over time can be like modified, but you can only modify the rules. You can't modify the results of the rules, and so therefore, that what you're talking, what you even mentioned earlier about like, you know, there's always going to be human greed and human corruption. Like therefore, those things are minimized. And this is like, you know, over the next like 200 years of like civilization, like is this? And I don't know. I was just like, I was like, I need to like lay in bed and think about this for a day because this is like, it was like kind of like they may actually have a point to that. That's actually kind of exciting to think about. Like that, I've never thought of like, you know, a ledger being used for something like that. You know, I've only thought of it being used for, you know, just simple like immutable data storage or things like that. So
Wait, so you're saying like the ledger would be used to store events that happen, like a history book? Or?
oh, it already is, yeah. But like
Right.
what they were talking about is like setting up essentially like an advanced ledger that is your constitution, and that is your sort of like an algorithm that decides how to function with. And it sounds like it could be a science fiction disaster too, you know, to be fair. But it was just interesting to even imagine that, like, you know, these people are thinking about that. They're not thinking about the value of Ethereum. They're thinking about like
Right, just like
how
what
they
the
could improve.
technology can be used for. To
Yeah, and ultimately at the end of the day, they're thinking about like how it can improve humanity. And it's kind of funny because like I feel like the average person, you know, somebody who like takes away like a negative view from it, they're like, the only reason NFTs or DAOs exist or any of these things is just to get people to buy crypto. And it's like, that's absolutely not the case. Like, you know, these things are wild ideas. And like, just because they're being used for that doesn't mean that that's why they exist. But
Right. Yeah. The dumbest thing I think crypto is used for, or the dumbest like excuse for crypto, I think, is like, oh, you can make like private sales and you can, you know, it's all like anonymous and all this shit. It's like, dude, as someone who's purchased a lot of drugs in my lifetime, cash works just fine.
oh yeah, right. Yeah. And that whole idea where it's like, you know, this massive portion of crypto is just money laundering. It's like, no, it's not. Like,
Oh, dude, yeah, that was always like, I had that idea as well, like with NFTs, because you can sell like fine art or whatever, and it's like a tax write-off, isn't it? Or it's like a non-taxable kind of thing.
You still have capital gains tax.
Yeah, totally. But like, I guess the idea I thought of is like, you could just be some like crypto whale, draw like a fucking shitty smiley face on a napkin, take a photo of it with your iPhone, mint it as an NFT for 1 billion Ethereum, and then just like buy it off yourself and be like, yeah, man, I like spent all my crypto on fine art. And then like you as the art seller could be like, you know, I sold my fine art for you know, whatever amount of Ethereum. And then all of a sudden you can tell the IRS that like, oh yeah, no, I don't have the Ethereum, I sold it. And the other person who is also you could be like, I gained all this Ethereum from an art sale. And then bam, you know, you've washed all your crypto whale money.
Right. Yeah. There's like one thing that I reminded people a lot of is like, if you want to get like upset about money laundering, then you definitely should never go to an electronic music festival again. Because like honestly, those things are not funded with like somebody's like hard-earned, you know, construction yard money.
Well, it depends. I mean, I think you know, for something like let's see, you know, some big festival put on by like Insomniac or, you know, something like that, I think probably at this point they're like, you know, they've made their money from past festivals and shows that they've done, and like, you know, Disco Donny, you know, shit like Ubby Dubby, and you know, those big festivals like Freaky Deaky and all that kind of shit. I think those over time have just built up slowly, and Disco Donnie's been around for like 20 years or something, I think.
Yeah.
And runs like pretty much all the shows from like the middle of America over to the East Coast, like everything in Florida and everything.
I think I'm thinking of like the moderate like hippie festivals.
Right. You think
it's kind of like, well, yeah, it's just like, where are you coming up with this capital?
Right,
like,
especially like the closer you get to maybe the West Coast, it's just weed money a lot of the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's the perfect place to launder it. And the reality is that like if it's drug money laundering, I don't fucking care. Like, yeah, I'll take that. That's fine. Like, I don't have any sort of moral obligation to like, deprive. If it's money laundering for like, human trafficking, like, no, I'm good. I don't need that. But I would draw the line there. But I guess the whole point of money laundering is that you don't know where you're drawing the line. But I don't think that there's any human trafficking going on in electronic music festivals at the moment. So
yeah, we'd certainly hope not, but you never know. Every now and then someone gets cancelled for some heinous shit and you're like, wow, I didn't think that was possible. Dude, did you see the Blunts and Blondes on the other day? Basically, I don't know how much I want to go into it, but basically like a bunch of stuff came up like from tweets from his past where he said a bunch of shit, basically said the N-word a bunch of times, and he said some shit like, oh, I don't want to go to like gay ass work or like something like that. Like just a bunch of tweets where he was saying a bunch of shit that you can't say on Twitter. And he got like totally cancelled. And then the next day, his apology was like the most half-assed shit. It was basically just like, hey, sorry, I'll try to be better in the future. Only going to post positive stuff from now on. And then the next day, just like back to business as normal. And it seems like no one gave a shit. It's like, man,
yeah,
Twitter cancellations are really going pretty half-assed these days.
It's so funny because I'm so not the like cancel culture guy. Like I know that there's like legit, I do like that some of this is like moving accountability up, like there is like the fact that like all of us are being a little more careful is probably good. That's like that, especially like when it comes to, I mean, I don't really tour anymore or anything like that, but like if it comes to like me 15 years ago, probably like thinking a little bit more accountable or thinking about my own accountability, that's a good thing. But I was thinking about like, well, I don't know that much about like the base nectar thing, but I kind of but I was like, I feel like 1/5 of the guys in the world are like that, but they just don't have the platform, like that I know, like I think that like because we all have those friends who are just kind of like hit on every single girl, and it's so common, and it's weird to see it being. I guess I just don't know where the line is anymore. And yeah, and I'm not against it or for. I mean, I'm not saying like stop this cancel culture, but at the same time, like I'm not sure. I'm wondering if people just really enjoy the witch hunt now, or if it's so much about the victims anymore, or what it is.
Yeah, whatever it is, the effect it's had on me, especially after making those comments about trans women not. Yeah, whatever.
You almost got canceled. Yeah,
I almost got canceled. Yeah, I said basically, and I thought it seemed like it was it didn't seem like something I like needed any more information for. It seemed like just an obvious answer, right? Like, like men shouldn't be able to transition into women and then fight cis women, right? Like that was my original opinion, not my opinion anymore. So before anyone tries to cancel me in the chat, right. I've changed my opinion. But yeah, definitely like after that, and also a little bit before that, but certainly after. Now, before I say anything on the internet, I'm like, wait a sec. It's like, is this gonna bother anybody? And that's good for sure. Because just accountability is good, but also just thinking of other people's feelings more. Like because the main thing that I was bothered by there is not that I was like had to be accountable for what I said, or not that I wasn't in the first place or anything like that. I just felt bad that I hurt some people's feelings, clearly, or made some people get that angry. I was like, oh man, I don't want to fucking make anyone feel like that. It's not why I do this.
But at the same time, it's like there are two big elements there, and I think one of those, or like one of those elements is that like you are a little more crass than certain other people. Like the way you'll just construct a sentence may have more swears. It may have a little bit. It may seem a little bit more like not crass isn't even the word.
I'm just more Australian.
Yeah, really. Like, yeah, and they don't respect your culture, you know. Let's
Right.
cancel that. No.
Well, I mean, so they shouldn't, right? It's just built out of prisoners, and
Yeah.
and, you know, we
You were
actually,
born this way, man. You don't.
right.
No, but
Fucking
caustic.
classists.
I would say, yeah. I would say, like, you're caustic. Like the way that tweet, it was maybe a little bit more caustic than the average tweet. And then on the other hand, it was like what you said was reasonable. It was a reasonable, rational thing, but it was misinformed. But it was like, it's not like you said it in a way that like was, and for, yeah, I mean, for anybody in here who's not like realizing what happened.
Yeah, basically I said, like I already said, I don't think that like women who transition to men should be able to essentially fight cis women because they just have such an advantage with testosterone and bone density and all that shit. But what I then went on to learn is it really is a matter of how long they've been taking estrogen for. And on top of that, there's just so many cases where cis women have beaten the shit out of trans women.
Yeah.
And cis women have like broken trans women's backs in like rugby and shit. And it's like, it's a non-issue once you've been on estrogen for like 2 years plus.
Yeah. And then when, and I remember debating people in that conversation, being like, hey, I know a whole fuck ton about combat sports. I've taken these tests, these testosterone tests that you have to take. I've like failed them for having skin cream. Like nobody is going through this transition and fighting with an advantage. They're not passing a USADA test. Right. They're not passing a WADA test. Like we're talking picograms of like hormones here. Like you cannot they're very difficult. Like, and fighting is the most stringent steroid. Fighting is like the most stringent place, the hardest place to get away with using steroids. Like baseball, you could still get away with it. You could,
dude. There's also like I think at least one example, but maybe multiple examples of cis women who have tested like with testosterone that's like in the range of a man. I think it was in like sprinting or something.
Sure.
And then had their medals stripped of them and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there's and it's kind of funny because I feel like a lot of this begins too is when I remember when like the UFC, like when Ronda Rousey was really popular. I remember I had a lot of friends who kind of were just like UFC fans on the sidelines, and they're like, I just don't get it. Like I don't get what all the hype is. Like I would. Like if I were to fight a woman that size, I would just fucking hit her in the head and knock her out. Like why, and I was like, have you ever tried hitting a professional fighter before? Like, do you think it's easy? Like you think they'll just be like, yeah, here. No, they're actually really hard to hit. And you'll run out of energy and then they'll, break your arm. Right. Yeah, it was, but yeah, it was funny to not funny. I mean, it was like, I was emotionally invested in it because I was just like, wait a minute, I don't think you guys are actually like taking into consideration what his perspective is. But
that's
like,
the other thing is like I don't even know why I had an opinion on this. I think the reason why, like I thought about it a bunch afterwards, was because essentially the dude who I got to master my album was getting like
you were
by like saying some shit about trans people, and then I said some shit and people were like, oh, you're really not handling this situation well, and I was like, you know what, fuck this, I'm gonna shut my account down and go read some books.
It's funny too because like even in fighting, like even if you stay like in the same weight division and have all males in the same weight division, then you have somebody like John Jones who's like this he's like, a lot of people consider him like the GOAT of MMA. And I mean, this guy has like an insane reach. He has two brothers who are both Super Bowl winning NFL players. Whoa. And he's the light heavyweight, or he was for a very long time, the light heavyweight champion, and he's undefeated.
So he's like better than Conor McGregor and stuff.
Oh Jesus, yeah. Like they're
what happened with Conor McGregor? Like, is he just like out of the game now or something. I remember for a while, like he was like pretty unbeatable and like had a big mouth, and everyone was kind of pissed off at him because he was like both egotistical but also really good.
Yeah, well, it was kind of a beautiful thing because he definitely had that sort of ego that allowed him to win fights before he even stepped in the octagon. Like people were kind of already second guessing everything they were doing until he fought somebody from Stockton. Until he fought Nate Diaz.
That's
It's just a
England?
ghetto. No, Stockton, California. It's just like it's like one of the worst places, one of the worst neighborhoods in California, and it's like up north of Oakland, and yeah. So he fought Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz is like just doesn't like shit ain't gonna anything Connor says he's just gonna be like whatever. Like this dude's the dude is absolutely on a different wavelength in that regard. Like he's ghetto as fuck, and like yeah, Nate Diaz like beat the shit out of him, and and then that kind of like caused some cracks. Like people then started seeing through it, and he fought Dustin Poirier, who beat him via knockout, and then he wanted a rematch, and Connor got the rematch, and he fought Dustin Poirier again, and that was his last fight, and like Dustin Poirier won, and Connor was just on the ground with like a wounded knee, like screaming about Dustin Poirier's wife. Like just, and like Dustin Poirier's like, the guy's a scumbag. Like, why do we let him fight? It's just like this, like really, it was a bad look.
So does Conor McGregor still fight or no?
I think he's like recovering. I think he's like in the phase now where he could accept another fight. But he, I think the really bad fight for him was against Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is this guy from Dagestan who literally wrestled bears when he was a kid. I mean, he's like this Muslim Russian who...
Oh, I've seen this dude before.
Yeah, and I mean, the dude's like very... And, I mean, the dude grew up in like the the Russian Dagestan Chechen war, and like anything Connor says is not going to affect him. And I mean, and he's like a devout Muslim. Like he would always take time out during Ramadan and stuff like that. And Connor like attacked his like nationality, attacked his, religion, like literally brought his like whiskey to the press conferences and put the whiskey in front of him when like he's not supposed to be in the same room with alcohol and shit. Yeah. And Khabib was just like, I think like the only thing he really said was like, I'm going to rearrange his face, and it was like, oh, okay. So the fight happens. Khabib just like gets him on the ground and like slowly like could have finished him in the first round, but just beat the shit out of him for 4 rounds. Like, and while he's doing it, he's like, you want to talk now? You want to talk now? Let's talk. Come on, let's talk. And like Connor's literally like trying to like, he's like, nah, man, it's for the pay-per-views. And you can literally like hear this stuff going on in like the corner cameras. And then finally in the 4th round puts him in a choke. And what a lot of people didn't realize is he had him in like a rear naked choke, but instead moved it up. So it was a chin lock, which is one of the most painful things in the world, and literally tapped him out that way. And then after that, the entire time, one of Connor's teammates was like yelling shit at him. And so he just hops out of the octagon and starts beating the shit out of Connor's teammate, which of course got him in trouble and like, ended up getting them all both suspended. And like, but I mean, that was like a good example of Connor's shit talking to the wrong person. And it damning his career for good, like damaging his, his like, his badassness went out the window at that moment, like watching that. Yeah.
Yeah, MMA is crazy. It's crazy because like none of the MMA fighters like look like, if I just saw like an MMA fighter like that in the gym or whatever,
yeah,
I'd never be like, oh, that's the guy who could beat me up out of all of these buff cunts in the gym. You know, like, but yeah, they always look, I don't know, it's almost like, yeah, they just have like the most efficient body for fighting, and they're not like too strong or like not too heavy and muscly or whatever, but like, just light enough to be like quick and shit.
Yeah, in MMA you have like a higher amount of body fat than you would if you were like a bodybuilder or something like that, or if you were another,
which is probably like healthy, right, to have like a little bit of fat on you so you can have like more energy to burn from or something.
I wish it's so you could cut weight. So you could cut weight more, and then like with water by dehydrating, and then also like fat doesn't use as much oxygen as muscle does, and so I mean they generally
have like slightly better cardio.
Yeah, which is kind of funny because like I've been like lifting weights a little bit recently, and just today I was like walking up and down the stairs a few times just to like I grab the
Bruh,
blocks and then yeah.
what the? Look at this dude's ear. Like I'm like looking at pictures of Khabib. Dude, this dude like has fucking no ear. It's like just a lump.
Oh yeah,
What the hell?
just
Dude,
yeah.
that's like you've been hit in the ear way too much, dude.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's like a lifetime wrestler, like since he was like a child. Yeah.
How the
He's
fuck like did your ear end up that way? Cauliflower ear? Like what is that from? Just getting punched in the ear a ton?
it's from grappling, from like rolling on your ear so much. And like if you, it's kind of weird. So like you have the option if you want to like look normal, you can drain your ears with like a syringe, like when they feel red and swollen.
Like you put a thing in and take blood out of it or something?
Yeah, but when you do, then so that's what I've always done. And so like if you look at my ear, I have this like it's like kind of crazy. I've like it's misshapen because of that, and then also the cartilage in it, I can literally fold it into
Oh
like
my god, Jesus
yeah,
Christ. Yeah,
just
if I did
because like
that I would feel a lot of cracks and pops.
yeah, it's just like it's like a beagle's ear or something. I could just sort of
Damn.
like a
Is
floppy.
is your hearing in that side like worse or
No, it's both ears are like that, and it's just because I've always drained them whenever they've felt hot and swollen, so they didn't harden and turn into the cauliflower thing.
right? But your hearing is like fine.
Yeah, I imagine cauliflower ear might screw with your hearing more because that was my biggest concern. Was like
Yeah, man, that doesn't look like that dude could hear out of that ear very well. It looks like it's like his body's response is being like, let's build a fucking crazy earplug to like save
yeah,
it.
yeah. And it's painful too. Like the people who have it, who have
No doubt. Like it's constantly painful if it's like that.
yeah. It's like it's generally painful.
And would that ever go down, or like is it one of those things that's just kind of stuck with it?
You could have it surgically fixed. A lot of people do, but yeah, a lot of people do once they're like done. But man, I mean, there's some people whose like their faces are just like they're never coming back to normal. Michael Bisping, he's now he was a UFC fighter, but he's now an announcer. Like he got his eye like they had to like take his eye out and like put it back in surgically because he got kicked in the head so hard. Now one of his eyes is just looking the wrong way, and he's just he has like kind of a jack-o'-lantern face, and it's just when you look at him in the beginning of his career and the end of his career, it's like Jesus Christ, like here. But he's married and has kids. He's gonna be okay.
Yeah, man. Damn, looking at him now, yeah, he's definitely looks like he's had his eye pulled out and put back in again.
Yeah, and he blames it on steroids because the guy who kicked him, Vitor Belfort, was he was on. It was when they were allowing TRT, which is like if a doctor would sign off on testosterone replacement therapy, then you were allowed to have it at the time. And
dude, so you know what I reckon is I reckon they should get rid of like all drug bans. They should allow any drugs at all in the UFC and the Olympics, or they should have like a second league. Where it's like you have like the natty Olympics and the natty MMA, and then you just have like the I don't give a fuck, like I'll put anything into my body MMA, and the I don't give a fuck, I'll put anything into my body Olympics, because that's the one I would watch, like the one where people would just like go and put whatever the fuck they want in and like beat the shit out of each other.
My honest take with it from doing it forever would be I would be okay if
Bruh, this guy in the chat is like, that'd be so unhealthy. They destroy their health with drugs. Dude, they're destroying their health by kicking each other in the head.
Yeah,
anyway.
like there's no, if you're, and also like, so I guess like when you break down steroids, like if you're to take steroids for fighting, the whole point is you want to heal more, you want to heal faster, because that's all steroids do is they make you heal faster. And so you want to heal faster, and so you want to be able to train kicks without tearing your fucking MCL, right? So you want to be able to like train as many kicks as possible. I would be totally okay with it just being a steroid test on fight day, and you can't pop for it on fight day. You have to be completely cycled down by then, because there's like so many pros and cons to that anyway. Like there would be a lot of fighters who would still not do it. I don't think that necessarily, but after the fight, that's when you need steroids the most, is because you've like gotten out of training camp, you probably have injuries. And I'm not talking about like nobody in the UFC is going to like take the LA Fitness amount of steroids, where they have like, you know, these massive like,
Right.
like because
No, the people would find like the ultimate like drug combo for sure.
yeah,
And
like
you would eventually just figure out like exactly where the human body stops.
right, yeah.
Maybe.
And they did do that before there was like, you know, crazy. This is like what I'm describing was like kind of the early UFC and boxing is like people,
Right.
everybody was doing steroids, but they just were cycling off before the fight.
Yeah, like imagine like meth chess, you know, or like like that'd be insane. Like,
Is speak not to go like way off topic here, but is the NA where you are? Is there like way more meth than there was on the West Coast, or is it? I mean, I don't
it's
know.
a different vibe for sure. It's like yeah, a lot
Oxy,
more
probably,
yeah, a lot more of that,
yeah.
like people doing pills and shit, or were doing pills, and a lot more African American people, and they have like these thick southern accents, and it's my favorite to go listen to them, to be honest. They're hilarious. But dude, there's some dudes in there who have been sober for like 40 years, and they still just every single day, it's like their life. And they have some crazy stories about essentially being like, you know, the bad kids in Charlottesville who would, you know, wake up on a bench with like a needle in their foot, a needle in their arm, get taken to the cop shop, next day released, found again on the same bench with a needle in their arm, needle in their foot, and like,
jeez.
yeah, they got some crazy stories, and yeah, it's interesting to listen to them. Definitely inspiring though, to be like, man, these dudes can, you know, they hit off like a much harder bottom than I did for sure.
Have you are you in therapy?
I stopped doing it because I felt like I was just having the same conversation with my therapist every week, which was, Bill, you need to stop doing drugs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know. Why am I paying you $175 a week to tell me that over and over again? So I was like, all right, like I probably don't need this until I at least get sober. Otherwise, the conversation doesn't seem to get any further than that.
Have you I feel like you're probably one of the only people that could like find some sort of like coexistence within this. Have you ever like talked to like a group like that or therapy, and you feel like they think you're lying just because your life is fucking crazy? And
yeah, a little bit. I mean, like definitely when I try to like tell people how much I was doing, they don't believe me.
Or just what you do for a living.
Like, yeah, exactly. That also, yeah, I'm like,
like, oh, so I'm a famous fucking electronic musician, and I have this and that, and you know, it's like,
yeah, you're like, so I ended up in this country doing this with this person, and this country the next day doing this with this person, and shit.
And everybody's just like,
sure. It's like, it's not impossible to like make those flights, and you're like, it is. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I've noticed like when talking to a psychiatrist or therapist, I've like I was telling. Remember, I just had like a really stressful week where I was like in the lawsuit with Archdiocese. I was dealing with like the New York Times. I just like outed Ian Urbina for his big scam. Uli Berenger had just like, you know, donated. I had just secured that he had donated like, you know, $200,000 to charity and all this stuff. And all this stuff was happening in 1 week. And I was just telling it to like my therapist, and I was just like, she probably thinks I'm fucking lying. Like so much. She probably thinks that I'm like delusional, that like these are all just like dreams I'm having where I'm like,
totally. Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Is like, if you
like,
are,
I hope she searches my name or something after this, because otherwise I'm going to like be institutionalized.
Like, yep, sure, Ben. Yeah, all right. Let's up that Klonopin dosage there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like when someone finds out you're an addict too, it's almost it's like I want to be honest about it with people, but I also don't want to character assassinate myself, you know. And also another big thing that comes with being an addict is being a liar, and you know, omitting truths and trying to, you know, beat your way around the bush in relationships and all that kind of shit. And yeah, it's like this is actually the most I think I've talked about it publicly. I will talk about it more and like go into the depths of like my whole story at some point, but you know, I need to get a green card, and I don't want my I doubt that a US CIS officer is going to dive 2 hours and 18 minutes into this stream and check it out. But yeah, eventually I want to do like just a dedicated podcast episode when I feel like I've got enough sober time under my belt, and when I feel like I've kind of solved the issue to some degree where I find it like manageable for a long period of time. But yeah, it's just, I don't want to be like, hey, this is exactly what I went through, and then everyone be like, oh yeah, that Ableton educator guy, like why the fuck should we listen to him, like after all this shit that he's done?
That's that's like well, I don't know if they would do it exactly like that, but I would think that like,
there is this like weird stigma though with drug use. It's like people don't look at drug use in this. Yeah, they like people look at drug abusers as like not like the scum of the earth or anything, but they look at like drug abusers as like the lower tier of society to some degree or whatever. But it's just not the case. I mean, like there's
like they might not trust you around a bag of money or something. Like
exactly.
Like, oh, he's just gonna run off and get a fix. Like as
exactly like, that kind of shit. And it's just there's so many successful people. I mean, fucking what's his name? JFK, dude, absolute meth head. Yeah. Like he was he had this doctor called Dr. Feelgood, Max, whoever his name is. And that dude was like before speeches, literally shooting like huge syringes of meth and like whatever else he wanted to put in these concoctions, like probably fucking horse piss and all sorts of shit. Cause he thought he was like making these like Dr. Feelgood concoction things. And he was injecting them straight into his voice box before speeches. And then JFK was like going out and just like yelling at people and like having all this like crazy public speaking energy. And then he was also like dating Marilyn Monroe, and she was also getting shots off from this feel-good guy. And then JFK was like telling her like, US government secrets and shit, as pillow talk basically. And that's like one of the main theories as to why he got assassinated in the end.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's like a bit of a conspiracy theory there, but I mean, it is known that he was at least getting fixes of meth like through his entire career, basically.
There's definitely like a stigma. Well, I mean, the beginning of the stream, like one of the reasons I never publicly spoke about the archdiocese stuff is because like people assume that like if you've been sexually abused as a child, then you are more likely to be a pedophile or something. And it's like that's a real thing that people think, which, is obviously, it doesn't really check out, but it is one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, I do like hanging out with kids in a non-threatening manner. I love them. I think they're brilliant and funny, and I'm constantly looking for tardigrades and shit, and I'm constantly doing stuff that like really only looks okay when you're with a kid, like going to carnivals and, and so it was like that was one of those things. But and the other, I get a lot of I still get a lot of snarls with like education and stuff. Like I'm sure I will tomorrow when I'm at Georgia Tech. Like a lot of people are just like, where'd you go to school? What'd you graduate with this? I went to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. I had a meeting there in Savannah to meet with them about, I don't want to say, I mean, I'm sure if you're imagining me having a meeting at SCAD, it has something to do with audio, but I ended up like not wanting to work with them, but like, the whole thing, I felt just like really kind of judged because I dropped out of high school. Like, as if it was like, but y'all want me to like help you, yet still I feel like I'm like, like I can't be trusted in a certain way because I didn't have enough money. This is kind of funny because it kind of goes into something that was literally like maybe an hour before the stream. I was like walking my dog and reading the news and thinking to myself like how conflicted I was. Biden had like 100,000 people in America are now going to get student loan forgiveness.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's great.
And I was like initially mad about it.
Right.
Like, because it's like, well, I didn't get to go to college.
Because you're like, I had to pay my shit.
Yeah, well, I didn't have any. I wasn't even allowed to go to. I couldn't even get a student loan from the government.
Right.
And it's like, and now my tax dollars have to pay other people's. Like, why didn't we just restructure the system to make college more affordable rather than subsidizing it? Like I feel like all we're doing is just moving money to the wealthy now. Does that make any sense? Like college debt is a middle class problem. It's not like a poverty problem.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, I don't know. And I was like, I should be really happy about this, but I'm actually kind of like, I don't like it feels like it's more of a re-election bill than it is a actual solve poverty. I guess to put it more because I'm sure like the fucking chat's gonna explode in a minute. To put it like more easy to understand, like I think that if you have one person in America who's getting evicted who doesn't qualify for welfare or doesn't qualify for Medicaid or public aid, like if you have one family that's going through that, then like we shouldn't be forgiving student loans yet. Like,
right, yeah, you should probably be concentrating on that shit first.
yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, going back to like your teaching thing, I had a similar experience. I was teaching a master's degree in Spain at Berkeley, like one of the most prestigious like music schools in the world. And yeah, I don't have a master's degree. It was like pretty weird. I think experience will just trump everything, you know, like you can have no degree at all, but if all you've done for the last 10 years is sound design, then you have the right, or you are qualified, I think, to teach sound design.
Yeah, and there's this strange thing in my, like I kind of go back and forth where I feel like really accomplished to be asked by universities to like chime in with things or like,
I mean, you're qualified for sure to teach like composition and
and so like I'm like, wow, you know, like I've made it to this level of respect, but at the same time the other part of me is like, fuck you, like
you didn't get the certificate, man.
Well, not like the other part of me is just kind of like I couldn't get into any of your schools like when I was starting out. Like I didn't have a chance, and now you want me to help. Like now you want my expertise that I've learned on my own. Like,
wait, so when you do school here, do you have to like pay the tuition up front, or is it like the school won't turn anyone away, but you just go into debt?
No, there's a lot of schools you can't get into. For example, I got a full scholarship to go to University of Montana for classical guitar. And then they found out that I played left-handed and like upside down, and then they took it away. And I was just like, all right. And then I worked, you know, and then I like made music and worked as a bookie in a pool hall instead. And it's, you know, it's like, I don't know. And now to go back and I'm also, I do have, I have some reservations on like gatekeeping information with money anyway, and I realize that it has to happen for a lot of people to like make a living, yourself included, myself included, but I think, you know, the college system is obviously taking advantage of people like in America, like the amount of money we spend on, like, I mean, what does a year at Full Sail cost? I want to look this up.
Oh yeah, so I my experience with college tuition shit in Australia was I just went, and I didn't have to like pay the tuition up front or anything like that. I just went into debt, and then after a few years I just had a bunch of debt. And then once I moved to America and like wasn't technically earning money in Australia anymore, I was like, all right, well, the rule I think is if you earn above a certain amount of money in Australia, then you have to pay like X amount % off your debt each year or something. But seeing as I wasn't earning money in Australia, I was earning money in the US, I didn't have to do that. But then they changed the rules in 2015 or 2016 or something. And then I was like, and then I started getting the tax letters basically being like, hey, you have a like a tuition debt here, and now it doesn't matter where you earn money, if it's Australia or the US or anywhere in the world, you have to start paying it off. And then I just paid it off in one lump sum, and sent myself broke for a while just so I didn't have to think about it anymore because it was giving me anxiety.
Yeah. So like Full Sail, if you wanted to like take music or, you know, or sound engineering, at Full Sail in Florida, Winter Park, Florida, you would have to get a student loan for, if you were to be class of 2029, to start in 2025. I'm just like looking at random things. You would have to pay, it would cost about $181,000.
That's insane. 181,000, dude. My college debt I think was 55,000 Australian.
Yeah.
So that's in the US it's like
20,
that's way less.
25, right? Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? It's
24. I'm just guessing, but
no, 40,000.
Oh, really? Shit. All right.
Yeah.
I'm way off. So it's like it'd be 181,000, and then for that entire time you have to have an apartment, and you have to like
Oh
buy
yeah,
food
that's
and all that
true.
stuff, and so that gets tacked onto your loan too. And so you got to realize that like a lot of like I mean, you're not disagreeing, but I'm sure some people in the chat are disagreeing with me. I'm kind of like just boring my eyes and looking at it at the moment.
Yeah, for someone to go to college then at Full Sail, if you don't already live in Orlando or Miami or wherever it is,
Yeah,
then you're like on the hook for what, 180 grand plus, like, what do you reckon it costs to live in Orlando for
probably.
4
I mean,
years?
with a roommate, like 250 probably total. You're probably $250,000 in
That's
debt for
fucking
that.
insane, dude.
Yeah, and so and not only that, but like
$250,000.
there's so many people I knew when
That's like
growing
just
up.
buy a fucking house and some gear
Right?
and
Yeah.
figure it out, man.
There's
Like,
so many people I knew when growing up who would go to like Art Institute of Chicago, which was another like prestigious place, and they'd like using their government student loan, they'd stay in like a nice apartment, downtown in Chicago. And I'm like, I'm living in squalor compared to these like students who have, and here I have like this actual, like, I was actually giving workshops at the Art Institute of Chicago, and I was like, I'm living in squalor compared to like these students who are just on a government loan. And now they can't, now they have a degree in fucking, audio engineering with a minor in basket weaving or whatever. And they're like, and they can't pay off this insane $350,000 debt, or, God knows how much it is. But we're subsidizing it now. And it's like, whoa, hold up. Like,
well, hold on. Chandler's like, my neighbor has $500,000 of debt,
Yeah.
8 degrees, and zero intention of paying.
yeah.
Holy
Oh,
shit.
500, and that's the thing. It's like $500,000.
8
I wouldn't pay
degrees,
it.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, $500,000 at that point. It's like, who gives a
Yeah.
shit?
Leave the
But
country.
like, what do you do then? Yeah, I guess you could leave the country. But like, what do you do if you ever want to like, get a house or get a loan or anything? Like, you're kind of screwed with that debt hanging over your head, right?
Better off saving it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like better off saving it or like getting a private mortgage or something. I don't know.
Right. But yeah, with that kind of education, surely you got to be like qualified to get a job that pays at least $250,000 a year or something. Surely like within those 8 degrees, the guy can like code or can like, knows enough about biology that he can,
Yeah.
solve some plant problems or some human tissue problems or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's like there's, it's interesting because you want to say like, yeah, that, somebody who's $250,000 in student debt should be a doctor. Like they should be a doctor that has their own practice and is now making that much a year minimum. Yeah. But in reality, like now a lot of times they have a degree that, they can't get hired from. So now they're getting hired as an office manager or something like that. And they're in debt. But I just think that like throwing money at this like I think like student debt should be, I mean, I think they should maybe like apparently you can't claim bankruptcy with student debt as easily as other debt. I think that's stupid. Like, yeah, we should probably change that.
Pretty dumb. Yeah. How so if you think like we should get rid of student debt, how do you think we should be like subsidizing to pay like, teachers and paying for like, the grounds and the campuses and all that kind of stuff? Just taxes?
I would say that like, it's an interesting problem, right? Because it's like, I would say no more government-backed student loans for private colleges, because like then you could only do public universities. That would bring the cost down overall. But then like now you're not giving the lower class any ability to go to private universities. But attendance would be down in private universities, meaning that their budgets would have to go down, meaning that they wouldn't be as prestigious.
Right. Well, I mean, like one of the most prestigious universities, MIT, is like pretty much free to go to, is it not? Or if it's not free,
I don't know.
It might not be free, but you can definitely like take all the MIT classes online for free. Like they're just on the MIT website.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think like the only thing, right, with going to university, I think that you can't get online that you do get from a university is just like some weird sort of drive and structure, I guess. But like all the information is free on the internet now. Like there's just no question about that. You can just like get all the information. It's there. It's on YouTube or it's on the MIT website or something. And
not only that is like the information you're going to learn in a university is like information that would have benefited you 4 years before you even went into the university. It's like, especially if it's a technology thing, like, yeah, it was kind of funny because I remember when I was younger, like when I was maybe like 19, I really was like, man, I'd love to go to college for. I would never get a scholarship or anything, and I couldn't get a student loan. So okay, so get this, I couldn't get a student loan because I had a drug arrest on my record.
Oh,
Like
fuck.
that's not a thing they have anymore, fortunately. But it was like a Clinton, early Bush era thing where they,
Damn.
if you had a drug arrest on your record, you couldn't, as a teenager, you couldn't get a student loan.
Do you
And so-
mind sharing like what drug it was, or like how the arrest happened or anything, or you prefer to not?
I had a few. I had marijuana and LSD arrests as
I
teenager.
mean, the weed thing is just dumb.
Yeah.
It's probably legal in Illinois now, right?
Yeah. And then I had I mean, like if I were to like rack up it was all from the suburbs. It was all, anytime I went onto the suburbs, I'd get arrested for some shit. Just because like the cops were like really they're diligent there, and like in Chicago, they didn't give a shit. And so yeah, trespassing, a couple criminal trespassing charges, a battery charge, and then one I didn't get convicted for it, but I was in a car with somebody who just like opened fire and with a firearm, and that
Like
person
he knew he was gonna do this, or he just randomly did it.
No, he randomly did it, but and then he went back to the scene of the crime, and then there's like a big police chase, and you know, and then
Why?
they
He's just
eventually-
like, you know what I'm gonna do is just start shooting, and then
I mean, I might as well tell a story. It's not really that.
circle back.
Yeah, so it was this guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but it was this guy who was just kind of a troublemaker, and we were looking for somebody. And there's this big group of people in the suburbs. These guys like a bunch of guys and girls in the middle of this park. Probably like late, 18-year-olds or something. I was 18 at the time. And I got out of the car and yelled. I was like, hey, I'm not going to name a name, is this guy with you guys? And they're all like, fuck you, and came running at the car. And we were like, all right, whatever. And my friend had this like Monte Carlo and like, this like sports car. And we got back, got in the car and went to the other side of the park. And literally we're like, hey, I come in peace. We're not trying to start trouble. We're just looking for this guy. And they all ran it. And so my friend just grabbed his gun and started firing at the crowd. And like,
Dude.
and I was like, dude, what do you do? And so we got back to his
Yeah,
place.
it's like, what is he trying to get a fucking murder on his record?
Right. Yeah. And we got back to his place. I mean, he was like kind of just not all there. We got back to his place and he was like, I want to see if I hit anyone. And I was like, nah, I don't think that's a good idea at all. Like we weren't out of the car yet. And so he like, peels out and goes back. And the whole time I'm like, dude, we should not, I'm trying so hard not to say his name, but I'm like, dude, we should not be doing this. We should not be doing like, we're going to get caught. We should not be doing this. We go back immediately. Somebody got hit. There's an ambulance. All these, nobody got hurt. Nobody got hurt. Like nobody got like seriously hurt. Like somebody got grazed.
Someone got shot though.
Somebody did get shot. Yeah.
That
and so
sounds like someone got hurt to me.
Yeah. Okay. A flesh wound. I mean, somebody got hurt, and immediately all these people are, you could see them like pointing, and then the cops, start chasing us. And he's like, well, I got this Monte Carlo, so fuck that. And so, I mean, we're like going down side streets and then going through like busy intersections that were like, and this is like at night, but there's still like cars going, and we're just like, oh,
it's a beast of a car.
yeah, like speeding through these intersections. And finally the cops set up a roadblock and then, pull us out of the car and like beat the shit out of us and bring us in.
Damn.
And
How old are you at this point? Like 20, 21?
18. I'm 18.
18,
Yeah, it was Good Friday when I was 18 years old. For some reason I remember it was Good Friday. So it was right before Easter. And so the cops bring us into the station, and I remember they had me in just like a general like conference room type thing, and they had him in another one across the hallway, and they had my blinds were open and his were shut, and I was just thinking like he's probably gonna say that he's probably gonna like I thought he was kind of a rat fuck, and I was just like, man, he's probably gonna say it was my fault in some way and try and get out of trouble and this and that. And the cops were like, trying to get me to talk about what was happening. I just wasn't speaking. Like, but I was just trained by my family never to speak to police, and so I was just like not talking. And finally, the cops came and they said, you know what? He said he told us that he did everything. You're going to be free to go. We just have to do some paperwork. Sorry for being so rude to you.
Sorry for beating the shit out of you, man.
Yeah. I mean, they're just like, sorry. We hope this isn't okay. We just ordered some pizza. for like some of the guys at the station. We have a little extra. Do you want a pizza? And I didn't say anything. I was just like, you know. And they brought the pizza in, and I was starving. I was there for a long time, and so they brought the pizza back, and so I was just like in there eating pizza while like the other cops were like talking to each other about something completely other. And they open up his blinds on his side, and he looks over and sees me eating the pizza, and I'm like, you fucking assholes, like you clever motherfuckers. Like, you know, because they obviously told him that I ratted him out to like get him to rat me out, and then literally had me eating a pizza for him to see me, you know, to make it look like I, you know, ratted him out, and now I was being rewarded for it. But he didn't crack. He didn't do it. And he ended up getting like 2 years, and I ended up getting time served just for being in the car. So I wasn't convicted of anything other than, you know, basically like being an accessory to it. But I did, like, I was in Cook County, which is, you know, the most, one of the worst jails in the country. And, you know, and yeah, and I mean, I ended up getting probation or something like that after that. So something much less bad than prison. But, you know, I did have to spend some time.
Right. So you did spend a little bit of time in jail, but you didn't go to prison.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like, and it was funny because I was thinking about this earlier whenever talking about those channels where people talk about like prison life or whatever. And it was like, I don't know. All I thought about in jail was like, everybody here's mentally ill. Like, not in a way where I was like being a joker. Like, I meant like everybody here like needs help. Like, they're
totally,
really,
the punitive justice system doesn't fix shit.
Yeah.
Actually, here I got I'll flash this real quick. I recently ended up in one myself.
Oh, you just keep it with you? It's like in case.
It's a fucking
That way you don't
reminder,
have to
man.
make me a new one.
No, it's a reminder for me to like not do drugs, dude. And like,
Yeah.
I don't want to like go fully into the story now. Same
Yeah.
reason I said before, I got to going through a green card application, but I
Right.
didn't get convicted of anything. But I was in jail for like 4 days, like something like that. Not very long, but enough to be like, fuck this place.
Yeah.
Like they put me in the jumpsuit, shackled me to like 50 other not prisoners, like people that were in jail. Walked us into a yard, and I was there for 4 days. It was the worst fucking experience of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell this story. I'll tell my whole story on my podcast one day, but
yeah,
not ready to right now.
I want to be on that one.
Yeah, dude, you'd actually be a great person to like, tell this story to.
Am I the only person on your podcast who's been to jail?
You know, probably actually.
Okay, cool.
Unless Richard's been. You
No.
know. I feel like Richard would be the least jail-going person. No, yeah, let me think. Yeah, I think you probably are. But yeah, after getting out of there, I just the punitive justice system did not work for me. After I got out, I was still addicted to drugs for a long time, or not a long time, like 6 more months or something. But after I got out, that's the first thing I wanted to do was get high. I was like, fucking dude, I need to like clear my, I was in like a lot of emotional pain after that. Actually, I wanted to say this before, like one of the things that I've been reading or read recently was Gabor Mate's In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, and his whole like thesis is not about like why are you addicted to shit, it's like why are you in pain basically, and like what pain are you trying to cover. And that's one thing I notice is like every time I'm in like more emotional pain, like for instance after getting out of jail, it's like all I want to do is like medicate it. But yeah, that's it was a crazy experience, man. Definitely not fun. And I had the same sort of realization is that everyone in there is just like they're not they just have mental illness of some kind, right? Like either anger issues or anxiety problems or
I mean, there was like, I would say 50% maybe were mentally ill to the point of like being caricatures of mentally ill people. Like they thought like aliens were implanting things in their brain, or they like couldn't speak and were just walking around drooling at all times, like crazy thing, for lack of a better term, like shockingly mentally ill. And then like where any mental health professional would look at them and be like, they need to be like in care 24 hours a day, not in prison. And later on, like 10 years later, I remember Vice did a documentary ages ago about that jail, and it's the largest concentration of mentally ill people in the world. is that jail,
Yeah.
which is
The
like,
Cook County one,
yeah,
right? Yeah, man. It's the other crazy thing in there, which I don't think is the case all the time, but was the case when I was in there. They had some people in there who had like expressed suicidal thoughts.
yeah. Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
so yeah, and as a result of that, they were like, we can't turn the lights off because we need to be able to
yeah.
like sit in the nest and like keep an eye on these people.
Were you allowed to have shoelaces or anything?
No, it was all like Crocs basically.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't allowed my like nose ring or my hair tie or anything, like
yeah,
anything like
yeah.
this.
They
Just
take all
like,
that shit away.
yeah, glasses even, like they took them and like nothing. Yeah, just like yeah, put me in a jumpsuit like and a pair of Crocs. And they're like, go get your bedroll.
Yeah,
But yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so they had to like keep an eye on these people who had like a mental who had expressed suicidal thoughts, to keep an eye on them to make sure they weren't hurting themselves. So it was literally 4 days or 4.5, close to 5 days of just halogen lights on 24 hours a day, no windows. Had no idea, like there was no clocks in there, so I had no idea what time it was. And like the only way I could tell what time it was basically is just from like the meals,
yeah.
like the guy would come around with the cart and like either give me something that resembled a breakfast or something that resembled a dinner.
Ours, every meal was bologna sandwiches for me.
Yeah,
It was so weird. It was just like
food there
every
was
meal was bologna
garbage.
sandwiches, and a lot of times they'd have like mold on the bologna and stuff, and I'd be like,
Yeah.
should I take the mold off? Like,
The other thing that was like super fucked is like I'm on medication, right? Like I'm on Wellbutrin, Trazodone, Lexapro, and some other shit. And I told them this when I went in. I'm like, man, I need to take antidepressants. Like if I don't take them, I just get like complete derealization. I get like, crazy withdrawal symptoms basically. And they were just like, no, we can't can't give you any meds. They're like, we can give you a COVID vaccine. And I was like, all right, why not? So I got boosted in there.
Sweet. Yeah, that's I love how people are like, wait, what are we talking about right now?
Oh yeah. Someone's like, I couldn't sleep with the light on, and yeah, basically I had the same experience. I didn't really sleep much for like 4 days. And
It's
yeah,
not
it
even-
was actually kind of like Michael Stevens of Vsauce locking himself in a light room. It was a little like that, though. There was, like I said, some ways to tell the time based on the meals.
But you have you're generally not but like, well, I from what you told me, I know we spoke about this before. It seemed somehow like seeing other people dealing with it would probably makes it better than dealing with it alone. But
Definitely better. But I was put in solitary as well for like I think 2.5 of those days or 3, for the same reason.
For your own protection, right? Just
it was partially because of that, and partially because like when I first got in there, I was just like an emotional wreck. First of all, I was like on a ton of drugs, and secondly, I just was like, how the fuck I'm in jail? Like this is insane. And I like almost got the shit beaten out of me as soon as I got in there, and then ran over to an officer and was like, dude, I'm freaking out, like I'm gonna fucking like kill myself or whatever. Like I wasn't like saying that literally. I was just like, man, my shit is just all fucked up. Like I think I'm like, no, I didn't say I'm gonna kill myself. I said I'm freaking out. I'm gonna have like a mental breakdown. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, all right, you're gonna have a mental breakdown. That's we have to get you away from all the other prisoners then, and then put me in a solitary for like 2 days.
Right.
And then a classification officer came around 2 days later, basically, and he opened the door and he was like, why are you in here? And I was like, I don't know. They just put me in here. I don't know how the jail system works. It's like my second day in here, and I'm in here like by myself. And he was like, man, you're on like the lowest misdemeanor charge in here. Like you shouldn't be in solitary. And then he like put me back in the yard with all the people. And I was kind of like, scared to do that. Cause like I said, the first thing that basically happened to me in there was almost getting the shit beaten out of me.
Yeah.
But then it was fine. Definitely way better to be around people than being by yourself.
Yeah. I remember when I was in there, people would try to get solitary just because it was so overcrowded that like they
get your own toilet and stuff.
Right. Yeah. And like they would I remember one of the most like they had like multiple tiers, and I remember some guy up on the top tier was like yelling at a guard on the bottom tier, and he's like, "Hey, guard, guard!" and like almost sounding like he was like in trouble or something. And the guard just looked up and he just dropped trow and like shot diarrhea down into the and the guard. And I remember this was like my one of my first experiences was like seeing this, and the guard was like, "You're cleaning it up, but you're not going to solitary for the last time. You are not going to solitary." And it's just like, oh, people want to go to solitary, okay.
Yeah, it's
Like,
insane, man. Yeah, a lot of the people who are, so basically like the way this the San Francisco prison was laid out is like the whole bottom was sort of like the yard, and then like around the top was all the solitary tanks.
Yeah.
You could see everything from the solitary place. Like it wasn't like you were completely locked in your own little world and couldn't see shit. Like there was like a door, like a glass door and stuff, or a Pyrex door or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you could see everyone. But yeah, like everyone, or like not everyone, but like a lot of the other people in the top solitary things, like for at least like 10 minutes every hour were just like banging on the doors like as hard as they could, and they're just like these, you know, massive like Mexican dudes and shit. And yeah, definitely a hectic place, not somewhere where I want to spend any more time. But also yeah, like a lot of people I noticed in there were just like stoked to be in there. Like they were in there with all their friends basically. You know, like there was a few people who were like shackled to me in the line. We're all getting walked in, and like, you know, there's a bunch of people who are like, "Oh man, you're here too, like hectic, that's sick," and like you know, just all stoked to be in there. And I think it was just a weird vibe, man.
Yeah, a lot of, especially like gang members, it's like you always have like half in, half out, so it's almost like a big reunion when they go away. And
yeah, exactly. And they're like, "Oh man, if I go away one more time, like I'm going to prison, you know, I might get to see this dude."
Right. Yeah, like, oh yeah, I get to see this guy. Oh yeah, he's a lifer. Yeah, it kind of. I was just comparing something to prison recently. Oh yeah, I was like, it was kind of funny. There's the weirdest comparison, and I don't know why I was thinking about it, but sort of like what we were talking about earlier, how some people seem to survive being canceled better than others, and it almost reminds me of like that sort of attitude where like some people, when they go into prison or when they go into jail, they have this attitude where like just nobody wants to fuck with them. Like not because they're scared of them, like they're just like, meh, that they can't be shook. And then other people can, you know, and you could just sort of read it on them. And it makes me wonder if like those are the people who, I would imagine like if you tried to cancel Snoop Dogg, like the dude used to be a pimp, right? The dude's like openly admitted to like hitting on women and, you know, being involved in like sexual trade, right?
And he's still like headlining the Super Bowl at halftime.
Right, yeah. And like, you know, if somebody was like to just outline he'd just be like, "Man, fuck you," and that'd be it.
Yeah.
And then be like, you know, it's like you can't rattle him, and it's like it's weird how society, but it's funny how that all like that's the root of your prison experience is like you go in and you're like, I don't care if I get the shit kicked out of me, or you do, and then, you know, and then you just have like a different fork that you in the road that you follow. You know,
yeah, I mean, also the other thing I think is like once you get into jail, it's got nothing to do with like who you are at all, you know, like people don't give a shit about that. Like you could be the most famous person in the world, like Snoop Dogg or Dr. Dre, and I feel like once you're in prison, no one gives a shit. It's just all about like it seems like it becomes more just like basic instinct level kind of shit. It's like whoever's the toughest run shit.
Yeah. And like it's interesting because like, do you feel like this has some sort of place, like I guess I thought about it, like I've thought about this before, where it's like my upbringing was pretty rough, you know, just like I had a pretty shit childhood. I didn't really have one. And like, I wonder if that's why like I'm more apt to just, where most people are like, yeah, I don't really want trouble. I'm more apt to just be like, yeah, fuck Ian Urbina and fuck Uli Berenger, you know? Like in this weird space. Like now, like I was like, why do I have this like capability of like walking into the fire and not really caring that much?
I mean, Ian Urbina is like, what's going to happen? I mean, he's going to be like, oh no, you know, like what ability does he have to fuck with your career, really? You know, like all he was doing is running a big scam.
Yeah.
Like who was he before that? Like, what does he run a Spotify playlist or something?
he was contacted by the person who was trying to blackmail me, or
Oh, I got you.
was
Like
involved in
the
that somehow.
person.
So he
Was that
had
the
something.
same person who hit me up on Twitter today?
Probably. I mean, this person has like a bunch of different accounts.
The guy who, or this person who was like,
Oh yeah,
asked
why don't?
Ben
Yeah,
about like why he got money sent to him.
yeah.
That person,
Yeah.
right?
Big conspiracy.
Yeah. Dumb. Yo, have you ever fucked with one of these? I got one today. It's like a gyro ball. You like spin this shit up, I guess, and yeah, I think you just continue spinning this thing and then let it go. Wait, hold on. Yeah, and then you let it go, and it spins around inside. Oh, here we go, like that, and it creates like some resistance by the way it's spinning, and you're like supposed to sort of like work your wrist against it to sort of like build up wrist strength or whatever.
Oh
So
really?
I kept getting carpal tunnel recently, but it was only because I was staying up for like 3 days at a time
Does it
doing
help
these like
Does it actually
crazy
help
long sessions.
with your carpal tunnel?
I don't know. I just got it. Someone on Twitter told me to get it when I like asked them, or when I told Twitter like, "Fuck, I got carpal tunnel again."
Yeah.
And they were like, "You should get this thing." So yeah.
Yeah, I've had mine looked at, and like they want to operate, and but
from
like
MMA or from mouse.
both
Oh,
from like
shit.
playing guitar, playing drums, playing piano, punching shit, like all day,
Damn.
typing
Yeah,
all
your
day.
forearms are just fucked. Dude,
Yeah, like in
get
here
into
the
climbing, man.
tendons, and yeah, they basically there's like a bunch of pressure in the tendons, and
Ugh.
there's an operation they can do, but it takes like a while to recover from, and
Yeah,
in that while I like can't use my hands, and it's like, well, I don't
Yeah.
have that time in my
You
life.
could get a stethoscope or what, a stenograph, or what do you call
Yeah,
it?
like a
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking type, like
Yeah, and
ordeal.
then use like what, that Linux plugin or whatever to like dictate to your computer. Dude, I
Yeah.
had a friend who like used to mountain bike with me a ton when I was in SF, and he's a programmer for Apple. Worked on the security team there, and we were like jumping off this like ledge thing one day, and he hit the ground and went over his bars and broke his forearm.
Jeez.
So he like couldn't code anymore, but he had to code, he had to work. So yeah, he got one of those like stethoscopes and used this this Linux plugin and shit, and he was doing all his coding work that way. And
God.
yeah, he like managed to figure out like a bunch of macros and shit, and it worked out for him for a few months. And then by the time he like basically started to get really good at it, his like arm was healed and he was able to
Yeah.
code again anyway.
People are like, where is Bill now? It's like,
Oh, where am I now? I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia.
in
Yeah, I'm in,
prison. We're both in prison.
Yeah, we're both just like coming live to you from prison. Yeah, Virginia. It's pretty cool. It's yeah, Virginia is a vibe. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I do, but yeah, I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. What I've noticed is honestly, like, no matter, yes, Talon voice, that's the one, I believe.
Thank you, Edwin. Thank you, Vanessa. There's so many
Yeah.
donations coming in, man. You guys are all nice people.
Yeah,
You're all
yeah.
better than Vladimir Putin. Much better than him.
Yeah, but I didn't really think I'd be into Virginia that much, but it's tight. I like it a lot, actually. It's a good vibe.
So I was thinking about doing a video.
Oh, what I was gonna say, sorry, is
Oh yeah, go ahead.
is I feel like I just have the ability to like enjoy wherever I am, kind of, because I'm always like, oh man, I don't want to like, whenever I've moved somewhere, I'm like, I don't want to live there, or I don't want to live here, or like, that place sucks because there's not enough like skate parks or like whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is just my ability to enjoy life no matter where I live is it's possible. Could be in the like worst place ever, and I'll figure out something to do.
I once had I once played a show in Fargo, North Dakota. I played a few in Fargo, but I remember one time it was like a show in May, and I talked to a friend of mine, and I was like, let's get a couple days off before the show, and we could go golfing, because there's a bunch of golf courses all over there, and that'd be fun. It'd be like fun little like couple days off. And it was like 20 degrees, and there was no golfing to be done. And I remember on the way back, we were asking, like, what would your salary be to live there for a year? Like, what would it have to be? And I think I was so unhappy with my experience there that I was like, I think it had to be like $1 million or something. Like, it had to be some like absurd. Yeah.
Someone said, I think Sharpie Man was saying, even in jail, in response to my ability to enjoy myself living anywhere.
Yeah.
And my response to that is, yeah, day 4 or day 5 was a fucking hell of a lot better than day 1. Like, just when you figure out how because like when I first went in, I was like, I have no idea how this system works. And it's the same when you move to a new city, right? It's like you move in, you're like, how the fuck does public transit work here? Like, what are the good restaurants here? Like, how does anything work here? And then, over time, yo, what's up? Oh, you bring me food? Fuck yeah, dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, this stream is going forever.
Yeah, I'm gonna move in over there
In
with
where?
you. Yeah, if that's happening, then I'll just move over. Where
Dude,
you're
so
living.
Anand is like the most insane.
I've seen on
ever.
your Instagram
And-
stories. Yeah.
Yeah, so and yeah, every time I'm streaming and I don't take a break, he brings me some food, which is awesome. But yeah, anyway, what I was saying is, eventually, you figure out how the city works and it becomes like a better time. You get a car there, you like figure out how to get to wherever you need to go and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, same as jail. It's like day 1, I was like, I have no idea how this system works. I have no idea how to use the phone. I have no idea like how to get food. I have no idea like what a
Right.
bedroll is or how to even set up a comfortable place to sit and where are the books to read and like all this shit.
Yeah.
And you figure it all out. It becomes a little bit nicer.
Yeah, I feel like that's with anything. I feel like that's, when people are like, I would rather die than not, be able to use my legs. And it's like, dude, do you know how many paralyzed people there are that are happy, that have families? Like,
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
it sucks, but
Yeah.
they sort it out and they make
Yeah.
the best with what they got. And,
Yeah.
that's the beautiful part of it.
Totally. Yo, I think I'm gonna eat this.
Yeah, you should
food,
eat
man.
this.
But
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on. I should probably go and do some other shit. I got partner coming around soon, and I feel like Anand probably wants company to eat with as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for coming on. It was always an amazing chat. It's like never a dull moment in our chats. And I'll
Absolutely.
do your podcast soon if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, we should do one soon for sure. Also, to respond to Vanessa Faye, she said, I thought I moved to Colorado. That was a long time ago. I moved to Colorado when I first got to America. Then I went to San Francisco. Now I'm in Virginia.
Yeah. Vanessa's in Chicago. She's awesome.
Nice.
I've known her for ages.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Well, yeah, it's good to see that some people enjoyed the chat. And yeah, hopefully, we should, I don't know. Yeah, we should do the podcast soon for sure. Hopefully I get my green card soon so I can like fully go into this story.
Yeah, that'd be good. And now that we're both on the East Coast, I'm sure that we could probably make something work. Meet in South Carolina on the beach or something.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Gardner is actually coming here on the 21st of this month. He's bringing me a bunch of GIK panels.
Oh, cool.
He wanted to come hang out anyway, and I was like, all right, I'll put in a GIK order because I've so far just like got I'm in a basement that's like really long.
Yeah.
So I didn't have near enough panels to do the whole thing, unfortunately.
And also, and finally, I want to thank everybody for their money to the.
Dude, yeah, big ups. That's like
Yeah,
12 grand raised. That's huge.
Yeah, this has been a good thing. Yeah, and the whole chat, I've just been seeing money flowing in. So thank you, everybody. And
That's awesome. I should use my platform more for shit like that, to be honest.
It gives you good virtue signaling points on Twitter.
It does, but I mean, like, you're actually doing good shit. You're like,
Yeah, no, it is. It is good that every bit helps, and like, like everybody here has donated at least a meal to a family, which is like,
it's
huge.
insane.
Like,
So
imagine
good.
being a hungry refugee. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful night. And thanks for watching and listening to our campfire stories. All right. Bye.